Welcome, everybody. It's DH Thorne coming at you live on this beautiful Thorne's Day evening. I'm glad to see everybody's here already. I'm also glad to see the return of Wyatt Coverdale. Welcome back, little brother. Hopefully you're doing okay. I know you were going through some crap. I actually just emailed you. So let me know if you got that email, because if not, that's quite the coincidence that you suddenly arrived again. I literally emailed you like yesterday because I was getting worried because you just disappeared and I knew you were going through some crap. So on behalf of all of your friends and fans here, we want you to know that we're glad you're okay. But we know you were going through some stuff, so I'm really glad that you're okay. But yeah, if you got my email, let me know, because that would be cool. So Wyatt's back, everybody. He's been going through some crap, and we appreciate you both coming back and being okay. So Alpha Draconian, what is up? Alpha says hello. Kelly Meadows says good evening. Eddie says, sup witches. And Jay Baldale says, may the precious blood of our Savior bless you all this evening. Raquel Kelly is always here with her beautiful, kind words. She says, good evening, DH. Beautiful Camilla. Hello, everyone. Hails. It's always a pleasure to see you too, Raquel. I'm glad to have you here as always. Let's see. Who am I missing? Jockster. Jockster's here. What's up, Jockster? Jason. Hello, everyone. Good evening, DH. Thorne. Looking forward to this. I assume that's Jason, the guy that I am working with a little bit on the side now as sort of a mentoree. He's good people. Welcome to Jason, if that's you. Zach, what's up, Zach? Good evening, gang. And Joffrey says hello. So you know who we're missing of the regulars? I haven't seen a Tropa in a while. If anybody has a line to a Tropa or knows what's going on, I haven't seen a Tropa in a while. Hopefully she's doing okay, because she dropped out almost around the same time as Wyatt. So hopefully she's all right. Soda. I don't like that soda. You know, I'm really looking forward to the day when enough of the bastards are exposed and taken down that they stop poisoning our food and water. That'd be really nice. But tonight, my intention is to talk a little bit, at least initially, about the fact, I talk about this a bunch, but I figured I'd really start with it tonight and hammer it home a little bit. Is talk about the ways that I am realizing, that I have learned, that the powers that be, not only have they deceived you about all of the other stuff that we are all learning, also spiritually speaking, that they have been deceiving the world, you, and everyone else. And this is wild because it permeates our entire civilization, especially in the West, more than anything. And I want to expose that tonight a little bit so that people can understand where I'm getting from here. Wyatt, that is really wild. So that means I must have psychically contacted you, bro, because I can even tell you the date. Let me check. I think I hit send. I hope I hit send. That would be embarrassing if I didn't. I think it was just yesterday. That is like absolutely wild to me. And yeah, it was definitely to I guess your old account. Let's see. I said, hey, little bro, we haven't seen you around in a long time. Some of the crew and I noticed your absence and recalled you saying something about going through hard times at home with moving or being homeless or something like that. I don't normally get involved in the lives of people watching my show, but some of us got worried. So anyway, just wanted to make sure nothing bad happened to you or you got into big problems. Or problems too big for you to deal with. I hope all is well, and you and your family, I know you have your differences and life is getting crazy with everything going on in the world, but I do hope you and your family are okay and getting along well. Anyway, just touching base. Hope we hear from you soon, just to know you're doing okay with whatever's going on. And I literally sent that at August 13th at 11:35. So it was a couple days ago, but yeah, that is wild to me that literally within 3 days, you got my psychic call, bro. That's the only way that I can interpret that. What are the fucking odds? Now, this happens to me a lot. Ask anybody, like when something gets on my mind like that, very often stuff like that will happen. Not every time, but it happens enough that I notice it. So that's pretty wild, dude. I guess I must have astral traveled to you and said like, contact Thorne. Anyway, back to what I was getting at. This entire civilization, it's safe to say, is built on lies. I'm not just saying that as some Alex Jones conspiracy theorist, although I mean that as well. But that this, obviously there's the ancient alien stuff and all this. The idea that everybody's just walking around in a world that is what it appears to be is obviously nonsense. Movies like The Matrix planted a seed in the mind of people. They got to see that, hey, maybe everything I think about the world and civilization might not be true. Unfortunately, a lot of people took the metaphor of The Matrix and took it too literally, because they're not familiar with the occult, esoteric, mystical, philosophical ideas that went into that movie. You know, the Wachowskis or whatever, the brothers, I guess they're sisters now, when they made that movie, when they created that, they were making an allegory out of traditional Gnostic, traditional Neoplatonic, traditional mystical philosophy, which always describes this reality that we know as the least real, at least the least real we have access to. There's probably even less real realities, but this is the least real. Now, what do we mean by real? What is realness from an esoteric, mystical, philosophical perspective? Every single tradition tells us this. And it was only until, I don't know, around the time of Copernicus, when the natural philosophers that would someday become what we call scientists began to question that. And then only in the last, depending upon whether you're talking about academia or the populace, only in the last 100 to 300 years has the idea that reality is a material reality, a physical reality, really taken root. If you go back far enough, it's not even that far, you go back far enough, physicalism was not the philosophy of the age. Physicalism was inserted into the collective consciousness and became the dominant philosophy within the last 100 years, at least for the average person, especially in the West. Literally every person that is listening to the sound of my voice, with few exception, either has been or still is under some degree of indoctrination of physicalism. I know this to be true for multiple reasons. I know that physicalism is a false doctrine as philosophy goes. That is to say, the idea that physicality, space-time, or the fundamental forces, etc., are reality is nonsense. Now, that doesn't mean science is wrong, because science, at its core, is not a philosophy. That is to say, science is about measurement. It's about studying phenomenon. It's about studying what we experience, measuring it, testing it, coming up with ideas, testing those. It does a very good job at solving problems and telling you about relationships between the things that are experiential in this world. It's very good with math. It's very good with all these things. The problem is, for too long, and before I say this, you can either ascribe this to ignorance or willful malicious deception. I think it's both. But for too long, our civilization has been ruled by the physicalist interpretation of these things, as if these things can tell us about absolute reality. There's so many holes that we could punch in the physicalist dogma that it's not funny. Again, I want to make sure you understand, I am not saying science is wrong about its discoveries at all. Connect this circuit to that thing and boom, lights turn on. That is not in the, I am not anti-science. I never will be. Science is a miraculous tool that the ancients developed through philosophy, metaphysical philosophy, mind you, to help them understand the manifested material world. But the idea that the material world was the foundation of reality is a recent concoction, and it was conceived to delude you, to degrade you, to bring you to a lower threshold of consciousness. It is designed to keep you a slave forever. Just like the religions of old, the organized religions of old, were designed to do the same thing. They don't want you asking questions. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to realize. They want you to be grounded out. I don't mean grounded in a positive sense, like we all have to be grounded. While we are incarnate in this world, you will go fucking crazy if you start to realize the things I've realized and don't have something to keep you grounded. I am not kidding. That's not an exaggeration. When you begin to realize the higher nature of reality and can start to tweak and play with it a little bit, just a tiny little fucking bit, your whole concept of reality starts to melt and you can become insane. You need to be grounded in something stable while you're here. It's not like, let me put it to you this way. Not that I've done this yet, but let's say you do a psychedelic trip, you take some DMT or whatever, and you see the fucking machine elves. That is closer to the true reality. I know this not doing DMT, just other vision methods. The things that I've witnessed, I recognize are the realer reality. They don't seem as vivid as this. This is more vivid, but vividness isn't real. Vividness is not what makes something real. This is closer to a deep dream. This is more like a deep dream. When the Christian culture, the Abrahamic culture says that we are fallen beings, the original understanding, in my opinion, I don't know where you'd find this, I'm just intuiting, the original understanding of that concept wasn't fallen because we sinned, because we did a no-no and we're punished. Even the concept of sin, I believe, has been corrupted. The original understanding, I believe, of sin was ignorance of your divinity and acting in such a manner that you lose sight of it more and more over time. You are, if you're a physicalist, perhaps unbeknownst to you, if you're a physicalist, you are more fallen. You are living in more of a state of sin, of evilness. And by evil, I mean the Platonic sense of evil, which is not the behaviors of evil like rape and murder. The meaning of evil in the Platonic sense is ignorance of the good. And when he said the good, he doesn't mean good in the moral sense. The Platonic tradition doesn't describe good as being moral, although it is expressed in morality. But that is not the definition of goodness to the Platonic or Neoplatonic, or even the Indian or Eastern philosophy. That's not the definition of goodness, is that it does nice things for people. The good is something divine. It is the divine being. It is consciousness. or what I call consciousness. Not consciousness, the faculty, consciousness, the mystery, consciousness, the enigma. That is the divine. That is the divine that you are. You're not this body. This body's a figment that is appearing in that. So the physicalist wants you to believe that consciousness arises from inert, dead, random fluctuations of physical stuff. Consciousness isn't fundamental. Consciousness emerges. And they believe this because they are so deeply fallen. They have it all backwards. We are not physical beings having a mental experience or something. We're consciousness having a physical delusion. Now, one of the dangers of realizing this initially is you can foolishly come to believe that because this is an illusory manifestation, that nothing matters. Since nothing is real in the way that I think it is, you'll think it doesn't matter if you get run over by a car. And in a manner of speaking, it doesn't, because consciousness isn't affected by that. Consciousness is eternal, it's immortal, it's boundless, it's God. That's what you are. You're not this body. This is just a figment of your imagination that you're living in right now. It's just a form that consciousness is taking. But this body is not what consciousness depends upon. This body is a kind of interface. Your brain is at best a mental thought form that serves as a transceiver interface for other mental thought forms that you have projected, that you're dreaming about right now. Everybody that's listening to me right now, you're not experiencing the things you think you are. You're experiencing what? Are you experiencing your room and your computer screen or your cell phone or however you're listening to me or watching me? Is that what you're experiencing? Are you sure? No, you're experiencing consciousness and the manifestations within. There's no body, there's no brain, there's not even eyes. Eyes is just an interface metaphor. I see. Everything that you experience is not the objective thing that you're witnessing. That's just a shadow, it's a projection, it's an idea, it's an overlay, it's a mask, there's a million words for it. You can call it the veil. Most traditions use a term that's similar to the veil. What does the word reveal mean? Look it up. Top 4, I got to get those rookie numbers up, Raquel. I appreciate that though. Even if I'm top 10, I don't care. Joffrey says, who is everyone's favorite LHP teacher besides D.H. Thorne? For me, it's Universal Mastery. I never heard of them. I'll have to look them up. There's a few others that are good. It depends on what your focus is. My focus isn't even so much on the LHP lately. It's basically on the fundamentals of metaphysics and mysticism. Why? Because everything pours from that. If you get that, it doesn't matter if you're left hand, right hand, no hand, dick hand, up hand, ass hand. It doesn't matter. Once you understand the fundamental truth, you can explore that any fucking way you want. Funny you should say that, Wyatt, about colors. I have actually seen things I can't relate to in this world. One time I went, we'll say, into chemonosis, and I saw a hypercube without the 3D version. I saw the real thing. I know I did. If you ask me to explain it or draw it, I can't, because when I came back to this life, it conformed to my understanding of those things in this incarnation. Think of it like when you take a three-dimensional scene and you take a photograph of it, it gets transposed onto a two-dimensional picture frame. Well, my incarnate mind is a little bit like that two-dimensional sheet of paper. So even if I saw the four-dimensional hypercube, or depends on how you do your math, fifth dimensional, whatever. If I saw that hypercube in that other reality of experience, I guess you could say, when I come back, it conforms back to that, the best version we can do right now. And because it's so unrelatable, I barely have any unique insight because of it. Not really, hardly any. And this has been my experience more than once. This has been my experience all over the map when I've gone beyond. You'll see things and you'll bring them back and they'll be abstractions. You can't necessarily relate. And I've heard this from a lot of people who describe, psychedelic trips, like really deep ones. Like they'll go and the machine elves will tell them the secret to peace and harmony on this earth. When they come back, they don't have it anymore. Happens all the fucking time. Because the things that we experience in that, I don't even want to say that reality, that simulacrum of reality, because it's all simulacrum all the way down. If you can see it, feel it, taste it, touch it, mentally picture it, that's simulacrum. The reality doesn't look like anything. The reality is formless, it is void. And within that formless void is an essence, this ideal, like Platonic form, which manifests as all these things, but it has no appearance of itself. God right now is dreaming about itself in the form of your life. Think about that. It's imagining itself. But what it is imagining is based upon ideal essence. That ideal essence shapes the way it manifests. It's like this weird mutually arising catch-22 paradoxical thing that's only paradoxical from a dualistic mindset. When you hit that non-dual state, you go, it makes perfect sense. Makes perfect fucking sense. It's like a Mobius strip with 0 dimensions. Does that make sense? Does anybody who just heard what I said think that makes any sense at all? A Mobius strip in 0 dimensions. And 0 dimensions is the same as infinite dimensions as far as this is concerned. There's no difference. Everybody, if you want to have some fun homework, look up, they'll either say either 10 or 11 dimensional. Usually I find it when I Google 10 dimensional universe or the 11th dimension explained. There's a great, you can either get the short version, it's like 10 minutes long, or like the book version, which is like 4 hours long. You can, if you understand enough about science and geometry and physics, the 10-minute version is fine. Eddie will understand the 10-minute version, no problem. So, not that long ago, the powers that be decided humanity had to be, well, they've decided this in every epoch, in every age, in every civilization, just about, that the truth would have to be obfuscated from the masses because the way they see it, and I sort of, I don't want to say sympathize. It's like, remember like Thanos, like I'm not saying Thanos was right, but I understand because I have had at least enough of a similar realization. I'm not saying they're right, but I understand when they look at the world and see humanity in general as animals and themselves as elevated. They see themselves as having an insight or a knowledge or an awareness of reality. I don't mean the assholes in government, okay? I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people who run them. I'm talking about the people at the very tippity top of the pyramid. They look at, probably even me, they look at everybody down here as an animal. And only some of us demonstrate even the slightest hint of sentience to them. Maybe people like me, maybe not. What do I mean by that? The average human being has no wherewithal or understanding of their true nature at all whatsoever. They've been dumbed down to believe in a physicalist lie or superstitious religiosity. Very few people truly get, I mean, a lot of people believe, very few people truly get or understand even the little tip of the iceberg of what I'm saying. It's not because you're dumb. I don't think you're dumb. In fact, I know some of you are wicked smart. Some of you can go toe-to-toe with me easily. And yet a lot of you haven't realized it yet. It's not about intelligence. I flaunt my intelligence. That's my Luciferian pride. Forgive me. Thank you, Ajna. I've been growing it out a little bit. It's not really doing so great. You know, I'm going to comb it live. We're doing it live. Let's comb this bitch. I'm sort of going for like, as I get older, I eventually want the wizard beard, but I don't want it now. I just want to kind of get like a good styling, little bit of a point going. Maybe if I can get the Fu Manchu mustache pulling down. I'd like to get the Fu Manchu down below my chin. I don't think it's going to happen. But eventually I want to get like the wizard beard. I want to look like a wizard and I'm going to start wearing like a cowboy hat all the time. You'll see. Watch me. I'm going to see, most people are afraid of growing old. I'm just going to roll a new kind of character. I'm just going to change my character. I'm just going to grow my character and change him. Anyway. So I don't think I'm better than you. That's not what I'm saying. I may have a better ability than you in something. I don't think that makes me better than you. I want you, here's my Luciferian nature again, I want you to grab this fire that people like me are grabbing and throwing at you like, here, motherfucker, wake up. Here's the fire of the gods. What are you going to do with it? And anybody who grabs it and goes, blah, 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 you're doomed. Like you are the animals. You are still animalistic. You have been either dumbed down or you didn't have the potential to begin with. And I don't like to say that in a negative tone, but that's how they see you. It's not just because they've hidden it from you. So you have to understand that the ancients weren't taught this. The ancients realized it themselves through various methods. Depending upon your understanding of the origin of humanity or which one is true, I guarantee if you go back far enough, some jackass in a cave eating a mushroom figured it out. And we're probably talking like before humans were even humans. We're probably talking about not the Denisovans, not the Neanderthals. Before that, there was some, they just recently found not long ago this species of like before humans, like you still look like monkeys a little bit, who buried their dead and had writing. They're fucked. Hey, what's up, Eldoria? Woo! Alexander C's here. What's up? Joffrey's here. What's up? And Wyatt says I should read his other comments. I'll try to scroll up in a bit after I'm done ranting. Let me just see. Let me make sure I'm not missing. Gage the Mage, what's up? What's up, Gage? Good to see you, buddy. Or Budette, I forget. But thank you for being here, Gage. Too Fresh Death F7G. All hail everyone and dots and doodlies. What's up? I like that. Too fresh to death. You could say sheeple, Raquel, but I don't necessarily mean sheeple. There's actually people who have had a transcendent realization who still don't get what's going on. I don't consider them, they might be sheeple, but I'm not talking about them. I don't even mean to say the unenlightened, because being enlightened isn't necessarily the key. It is the key, but it's not, that's not where I draw the line. Because enlightenment is actually an attitude. It's a perspective based on, you know, it's sort of a, imagine you just found out for sure, 100%, no doubt, that this is the Matrix and this is not really who you are and this world is an illusion, a simulation. Would you, and if your body gets killed, you're fine. Like you'll just wake up in a pod just fine. That feeling of this is just a dream or a game, that's enlightenment. That's a taste of enlightenment. There's more to it than that. That's entry level enlightenment, okay? Entry level enlightenment is, I realize that I am not this, I am a soul, or I am God, or I am whatever, and that it is not this. This is just a form I'm taking, or an incarnation that's temporary. That alone is a just a little tip of the tongue taste of enlightenment, because you realize that nothing that happens to this matters. I mean, it matters, but not in the way you've been brought up to believe. Now we come back around. Just the tip, Eddie, just the tip. This brings us back around to the hidden masters, the power elite, the ones who know the truth. Another reason that they have dumbed you down with physicalism. Every single human being walking around on this planet right now that thinks there are mass of cells that somehow spontaneously generates this miracle of consciousness out of nothing, and we all do it the same way, despite completely different brain chemistries and completely... There's people who only have a brain stem who can do long math division and everything. They're just like you and me. Look it up. There's people with half their fucking brain or more gone, but they have a full head of consciousness? A full mind? The brain doesn't generate that. The brain does not generate that. It may be responsible for the interface that you see. Yes. This thing you call a brain, though, is a thought form. It's like an egregore. It's something that consciousness manifests the intelligence behind all of this. Intelligence is also not caused by the brain. It's facilitated. Your experience of this reality is facilitated by this illusory construct you call a brain. The brain is not even a requirement. Your brain and everything that happens within it is just an external image, a second-person perspective or third-person perspective of what your mind is doing. It's like when your skin blushes. When you see the brain having activity on a EKG or whatever, an EEG, or an MRI or a CAT, whatever kind of scan they do, and they can see all the shit going on in your brain. That is what it looks like. That's what your thoughts look like on the outside. It's not causing your thoughts, guys. It's not. But it is an interface. it's like a transceiver, but it's not a cause. It's a connection. It's an interface transceiver. But when I say it's a transceiver, we get into the problem. See, like Void, that comment, Void says the brain seems more like an antenna to consciousness. That is still the physicalist cope. Let me put it again. The idea that the brain is an antenna to consciousness is a physicalist cope. Why is it a cope? Because consciousness is all there is. The brain does not exist as a brain. The brain is a form that consciousness manifests as. The brain emerges like a pot made of clay. There's no pot there. The pot is a form that the clay is taking. There's clay there, not a pot. Let me grab an object to make the point whole for you. I don't know. I don't have a pot here made of clay. This soda can. There's no soda can here. There's just aluminum or tin or whatever with plastic coating and paint in the shape of a can. Your brain is consciousness in the shape of a brain. Your hands are consciousness in the shape of hands, in the form of hands. Now, yes, the ideal form of hands or whatever is a real thing, as Plato more or less proved through argument that the ideal essence of things is eternal and independent of our knowledge of them. A pot is always a pot. Whether you call it a pot or a bucket or whatever else, the essence that is potness. Ajna's right. You are the Matrix. You're not in the Matrix. You are the Matrix. Period. The essence of potness or cupness or anything is just as eternal as consciousness. It is implicit. Just like consciousness is implicit within consciousness, just like existence is implicit with consciousness. They're not definitions, but they are implicitly there as part of it in a way that you can't describe. Just like color is implicit in color, in redness. Just like redness is implicit in color. They are inseparable. They are the same thing. This is why I've been harping for years, telling you guys, there's no cups, there's no trees, there's no you. There's just the divine as consciousness that appears or manifests as this. What you see is an iconographic interface for something that you can't see. So Void says, but most people with brain damage do at least appear to get noticeably dumber. I'm not disputing that. But that doesn't mean the brain is responsible for that. The brain, this is easy to prove. This isn't, it may be hard to believe. It may be hard to wrap your brain around, your mind around. But it's not hard to prove. Even science, a good neuroscientist, cognitive neuroscience scientist, even the ones who are not into consciousness as fundamental reality, will admit everything I'm about to say to you. Everything that you experience as reality is a mental hallucination, a holographic simulation that is generated by your mind. You do not see reality. You never have. You see a mental projection of what your mind thinks reality should look, feel, taste, smell, and be experienced like. Even the three-dimensionality, even the time and space that you think it's all embedded in, all of it is a mental fabrication. Every single iota of it, including your idea of a brain. All of it. When some egghead says, your brain generates your mind and your consciousness, all you have to do is ask them, where did you experience this? Have you ever had an experience outside of consciousness? Have you ever had an experience outside of your mind? Ask them if they've ever heard of the brain in the jar. Thought experiment. And if they don't know what you're talking about, then just walk away. How do you know you're not in a brain in a jar where a scientist is probing your brain and giving you an experience of everything? How do you know you even have a body? You can't. That isn't to say that there is nothing external to you. I am not a solipsist. The question of what you are, though, is the question. When I say you, I don't mean this. I mean the consciousness that is witnessing this. The brain doesn't exist outside of your mental projection of it. Have you ever seen a brain? Have you seen your own brain? No, you've never seen a brain. If I hand you a brain, you're not looking at a brain. That's your mind projecting the idea of brain into its own experience of itself. Guys, this isn't hard. This is existential philosophy 101. Even physicalists acknowledge this. This isn't disputed by the physicalist or the spiritual or anything. The problem we get into is that the physicalist makes an assumption. And for anybody who knows the logic of philosophy, when you make an assumption, there's a saying, grant me one miracle and I'll give you the universe. Because science is always, or the philosophy of science or philosophy is always seeking for an explanation for reality that requires as few inexplicable miracles as possible. So a theory that requires one miracle is superior to a theory that requires 2 or 3 or 4. And by miracle, all I mean is something that is just accept it and don't question it. Assume it's true. The physicalist requires a whole slew of fucking assumptions now. You have to assume that what you experience is not only real, but truthful in its representation of what is real when we know it's not. It's accurate. There's a difference between accuracy and truth. That's not semantics. It's an important concept. There's a difference between accuracy and truth. You experience an accurate representation of the world, not a truthful one. I'm taking this argument directly from people like Bernardo Kastrup, Donald J. Hoffman. You can look them up. Fantastic. Fantastic work they're doing. You're experiencing an accurate simulation that your mind is generating for you. And it takes the form of a body with brains and planets and stars and all of this. And the relationship to the information, because remember, we're dealing with what science would call information, what a philosopher might call the ideal form or whatever. It's an accurate representation of that information and its relationships to itself, but it is not a truthful one. So here's a good example. When you're playing a video game, you're looking at an accurate representation of the code that's being processed by the computer, but it's not a truthful representation of that code, because if it was, it would just look like zeros and ones flying. It wouldn't even look, it would just look like a flickering light. That's all it would look like. Because that's all inside your computer. Ask Eddie, he could probably explain it better than me. There's no numbers flying around in there. It's literally just on and off switches, blinking on and off really fast. And somehow through the processes of the machinery and the code and all of that shit turns into the image that you see. So it's an accurate representation of it, but it's not a truthful one. You've never seen what your computer's doing. You just see an interface that represents it. That's what you're seeing now. Your experience of reality right now is a kind of interface. There is no brain. There's no world. Those are just mental constructs that help you with the relationships. They don't exist the way you think they do. There is a source for it that is real, though. And that's an important point. This isn't something you're just making up. This isn't just something that you're fantasizing out of nothing. There is an origin, there is a source. The physicalist requires a whole fuck ton of assumptions. Non-dual philosophy requires only one. Only one. You know what that is? That you can't know the true nature of that supreme, absolute being that you are. It's the only assumption you need. Doesn't even sound like an assumption, does it? You exist. Your existence is consciousness. What you experience is consciousness. Those beings that you see in this experience are consciousness. They are clearly conscious like your little stupidness is. You can't prove that they are conscious, but you can't prove to them that you are conscious. So since it's a double blind, but is that an assumption, though? No. Simply because you can withdraw all the way. You can exit the simulation and realize that that other person over there is just a representation of another part of yourself watching itself. It's not a thing you have to assume or believe. You can literally pull out and be like, holy shit. It's all consciousness. There's no people over there. I'm projecting people over there. There's no over there. I'm projecting over there. But over there and the people in the over there represent something dimensionless, but something real in that dimensionlessness. I know it sounds crazy. Sounds all paradoxical. But you're probably thinking in the two-dimension or the dualistic mindset. Reality is dimensionless, timeless, formless. It simply exists. And we know it's conscious. Or that consciousness is fundamental to it. And some traditions say bliss or fulfillment or serenity or peace. There's different words are also fundamental to it. The good. When Plato was talking of the good, part of what makes it good is that when you achieve that realization, it's like, oh, it's like a relief. It's blissful. It's when you realize the good, there is only blissful And what do the Advaitins say? And what do the Zen? What do they all say? The same fucking thing. You know what scientists say? They say that that's a hallucination in the mind of people who have wired their brains differently through various practices that blobbity, blobbity, blah, fuck you, assumption, assumption, assumption. You can directly realize all of this. When you do, it begins as an intellectual realization. That makes sense. It's probably right. But that's not it. If you're having an intellectual realization, that's the equivalent of watching Pornhub versus getting the greatest sex act of your life happening in real life. Having an intellectual realization of the truth is just realizing that you're watching shadows on the wall. You still haven't turned around and looked at the source of it. And if you stop at the intellectual realization, and nobody can. Once you have the intellectual realization, nobody stops there. You might feel like you stopped there for a little while, but that's not. I can tell when someone's had the intellectual realization, but not I can tell. It's really easy. It's not hard. But there's no litmus test. It's literally you just kind of empathize and you just listen and go, ask them a few questions, see how they answer it. Thank you, honey. I'm just on a roll. Patchwork says, I'll get to that now. Patchwork said, consciousness exists outside of his brother. The brain is an antenna. I love you, Patchy, but I got to earn you. The brain is consciousness. It's a manifestation of consciousness in consciousness. Consciousness is the clay, and the brain is a form that clay can be molded into. You don't need a brain to have thoughts. What you need a brain for is for those thoughts to reflect in this more material manifestation. That's all. Let me give you a better example. Let's say you're dreaming tonight. You fall asleep tonight and you're dreaming. Okay? Let me slow down a little bit. Let me walk you through. Close your eyes and just imagine what I'm telling you for a minute. Imagine tonight you go to sleep and you have a dream. And this dream is a dream of total black darkness. But in front of you is a pearl of, I'm going to borrow some biblical references. There's a pearl of unimaginable price there in front of you. So there you are in this empty darkness, but there's a pearl that somehow you can see it. Maybe there's a light shining on it. There's nothing but the pearl and the darkness. If I said to you, pick it up, how would you do that? Remember, I didn't say you had a body, did I? I just said there's darkness with a pearl. How do you pick it up? There's no arm. There's no hand. There's no body. You can't. Even if you wanted to, there's no part of you that can pick it up. You can go right up to it. You're just a point of visual perception. That's all you are. Without a hand, you can't pick it up, can you? So in order for you to pick it up, I've got to give you a hand to reach out and grab it with, don't I? Okay, so imagine you got a hand. So that way you can reach out and grab the pearl. Now you're there holding a pearl. Cool. Your brain serves a similar purpose. You're a point of conscious perception within the divine itself that has manifested this world as an illusion. To do so, it needs an interface. Your hand is an interface for that pearl. Without that hand, you can't grab it. Without this body and this imaginary brain, you can't interface with this illusion fully. Imagine you die and you're a disembodied ghost. How do you touch anything? How do you interact with anything? You don't have a hand. You starting to get it? You manifest all of this. And I'm not saying that that's what happens. I'm saying without this this body thing, you can't interface with anything around you the way that you're used to. Now, could there be other ways? Of course there could. But right now, you have settled, you have incarnated, you have localized, you have imagined this as your interface. And you're sticking to it. It's your favorite operating system. If you're a real nerd, this is like Linux for you. Now, so far, I'm still making it a little solipsistic in nature, aren't I? Because it's making it sound like you're creating this whole reality all by yourself. Well, you're still thinking dualistically, for one, because you're thinking that there's other things. But you, incarnate in this body, place, and time, are the same you that is in me, that is in my dog, that is in my wife, that's in Santa Claus. Ha ha. There's only a partial ha ha. It's the same conscious being behind all of these eyes. Because the reality of what you are is timeless and spaceless, dimensionless. It's non-local. Because locality is an illusion taking place in the mind of God. And you, your persona, the person you think you are, is just another idea in the mind of that same God. And that same God is me and you and everybody else. And that God is probably in the mind of another God. Higher and higher you go, it's fucking turtles all the way down. There's always a higher God. It's like imagine, how many of you guys know the concept of dissociative identity disorder? Imagine that the divine is an impersonal consciousness that is dreaming of personas, alters within itself. And those alters can be individual or they can be hierarchical. Imagine that there is like a Yahweh, for example, a Yahweh altar. And then below that are angels and things and blah, blah, blah. And then below that, there's people. But it's all the same being, but just multiple personalities of that same being. And Yahweh may just be one. Maybe there's also a Zeus and a blah, 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 and a Ishval. I forget. I can't think of the word now. I think it's Ishvara. Ajna, what's the name of God in the ultimate God in Advaita? I think it's Ishvara. Brahman, Shiva, whatever your mask for God is. Maybe that's your higher dissociative identity self. And then eventually it all just goes back to source, period. That's very Neoplatonic. That's very Gnostic. Look it up. It's almost like they knew. It's also very Kabbalistic. It's even Hermetic. Because every altar is a microcosm of a macrocosm of a mind. Did you know that? Guys, it's all obvious. But it's hard to see because they don't want you to see it. If you knew even a fraction of the things I'm saying to be true the way I know them to be true, they have no power over you. They can destroy your body. You know that it's just like a game. It's not really... It can suck. Your body can feel pain and be upset. But you, the real you, you know that when the lights go out in this thing, nothing happens to you. You've already had it happen already. You don't have to necessarily have a DMT ego death. You can have a meditative one. You'll know that this is not it. This is just one way that it looks, and it's not less valid. I want to be clear, even though I've been telling you from the beginning that this is the least real version of it, it doesn't make it less valid. It's just fun. Think. Is the fact that a video game less real than reality make it less worthwhile or fun to play or do or spend time with? I know that the old-fashioned people will say it's a waste of time because it doesn't accomplish much. Having fun in a game is its own purpose. So long as you're not addicted and failing at life because of it, playing a game is no different than sitting around listening to music. It's no different than reading a book. It's got the same value, potentially more so because it's interactive. Well, what do you think this is? This is like the divine's way of playing a game with itself. It's literally called Leela. In Hinduism, it's called Leela, which means the game of Brahman. Well, actually, no, game is not the correct translation is closer to play, like a drama, like a stage play, but it's all a form of play and game. It's a fun activity for it. Look this up too. And if you look, many other traditions have a similar understanding of what this is. The consensus, shall we say, of all mystics is that the purpose of this reality is like a play or a game or a little bit of both, in which the divine is exploring itself and learning itself and running through this simulation. Why? For the same reason you'd sit around and play a game. Is it learning things? Well, not necessarily. Learning is the wrong word. It's experiencing, though. It's experiencing learning. It's experiencing deeper manifestation of itself. You could say that's like learning, but really learning is a misunderstanding. People think learning is an additive process. Learning is a reduction of that which is false. That's all learning really is. It feels like you're adding a new idea to your head. But really, you're removing an ignorance. You're removing a blindfold. You're removing a veil that's covering the truth. When you learn, you're revealing. You're not adding. You're pulling away the curtains and seeing more of the truth. And when I say learning, I don't mean learning that 2 + 2 = 4. That's just another construct of the experience. When I talk about true learning, I mean a realization, a Gnostic, a mystical, just like and you just get it. And you can't even, it's hard. What makes someone like me special, if at all, isn't that I realize what others don't. It's that I'm able to explain it. That I was gifted with an overactive throat chakra that makes me really verbose and really pedantic and able to really just break down things and verbalize them in a way that most people can't. But sometimes that gets me into trouble because I can overdo it. Sometimes it's easier just to say it's all one, relax, shut up, sit down, have fun. Sometimes it's better to just keep it simple. Because sometimes when you get too eloquent, that means your model is too complicated and people get confused by it. So I apologize if I'm confusing you, because that's the dark side of what I do. Some people are just meant for the Zen method. Some people are meant for the Advaita or whatever. But here's the thing. They're also, as good as they are, they're also missing some pieces. You will notice how even these enlightenment ontologies like Advaita, Zen, etc., how nihilistic they tend to be, even though they're not. If you really approach a guru or someone who's really gotten it, they're not nihilistic. They're happy as shit. There's no nihilism. And they don't sit there and go, well, there's no afterlife. No, they're just like, it's not even about leaving the cycle of samsara for them because they've left it just by virtue of realizing that they're not really in it. Their consciousness watching it. Get it? They're not, when they say the whole point of life is to end the cycle of samsara, they don't mean that you stop experiencing life or stop experiencing the experiences of that. They mean you become the hub, you become the center of the wheel of that's spinning around, and you witness it all as the center of the wheel, not as the edge of it. You no longer feel like you are the one that it's happening to. You feel like you're the one watching it happen to something or someone else that you are. Wild, I know, hard to say. So enlightenment, when you hit moksha or nirvana, you don't just cease to exist and go off into la la land forever and ever in bliss and never. You do experience bliss. if you just reaching an enlightenment stage, like realizing an enlightenment can be temporary because the bullshit can come back in again, because this world is very convincing. And I can wake up in the morning and open my eyes, and immediately I am in a non-dual enlightenment state. Ah, we're here again, are we, consciousness? You know what I mean? I know that I'm consciousness. I'm not somebody opening. I'm enlightened when I wake up. But then my alarm goes off. I woke up a minute before my alarm. The alarm goes off, and immediately I start thinking about my day. Bang, enlightenment over. Immediately, just like a house of cards crashing down, that blissful peace gone. Then I get up, do my thing, get ready, go to the bathroom, you know, piss, fart, burp, all the stuff you got to do when you get up. Brush my hair, brush my teeth, whatever. And while I'm doing that, I zone out. I enter like a state of meditation, and the bliss returns. I recognize, you know, I have to be mindful. I have to think about it sometimes. You realize your consciousness, right? You're not this, oh yeah. And then the mind just detaches a little bit, and I realize it's almost like I'm literally doing that. I'm stepping back. I'm like dissociating a little bit. Not in the negative way. Not in the psychotic kind of way. In a healthy kind of way. I dissociate just a little bit. And I realize, okay, I'm not looking at my hands. I'm looking at consciousness that looks like my hands. Just a thought like that's all it takes. And then whoosh, I'm back into the right frame of mind. And then I get to work or something, and it's like, you're late. Ah, you know, you smack right back into the illusion again. An enlightened master is simply someone who spends all or most of their time in that detached kind of way. That's the difference. It's basically lucid dreaming while you're awake. It's realizing this is like a dream and that you're lucid right now when you realize that. You know, in a dream, you can even have somebody tell you you're dreaming, and you can say, oh yeah, I know I'm dreaming, and still not realize that you're dreaming. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever had a dream where you were being informed that you were just dreaming and you parroted it back but didn't believe it and didn't know it? Of course. That's not hard. But when you have a lucid dream, you know it. For most people, for a lot of people, the most lucid dreams they have is when they have a nightmare and they realize it's just a nightmare and they wake up. That's usually the lucid dream that they have. They go, oh, this is just a dream. Well, that's a lucid dream. Well, Thorne, if it was a lucid dream, how come I didn't have control? Because lucidity doesn't necessarily mean control. So enlightenment ontologies just trigger a lucid experience of life. Why do you think this tapestry says make it lucid? It says reality is a dream, make it lucid. But having a lucid dream doesn't automatically confer upon you, the persona, the ability to influence the dream. Only the dreamer can do that. You are the dreamer, but so long as you're incarnate in this idea that you're this person, you can't. D.H. Thorne can't wave a magic wand and make the New World Order go away. Can't do it. So D.H. Thorne has to surrender to divinity. D.H. Thorne, the egoic avatar, the egregore, the concept, this persona has to surrender to the divine, and the divine is consciousness. The real you. So D.H. Thorne, the egoic thought complex, has to surrender to divinity. And one way you can do that is to literally talk to consciousness. Be like, God, listen, I know you can hear me because I can hear it, and that's me. Like that meme says, picture of Jesus saying, you know, Jesus, when did you figure out you were God? Well, I was praying and I realized I was talking to myself. Oh, shit. Think about it. When you were a Christian, which most of you were, when you were praying to God, God was listening. God was consciousness. That's God. Can't help but listen to you. You weren't praying to yourself, because this person that was praying is a dream figment, just like your dream self. That's not a real person. When you go to sleep tonight and you dream of that person in the middle of your dream who you think you are, with arms and legs and all the shit you're used to, or maybe you're like a wolf or something, whatever. Whatever you are in that dream, that's your avatar. It's not really who you are. You're the dreamer. You're the dreamer dreaming this, and you're the dreamer dreaming everybody's this. You're just centered here right now. And right now is just another illusion. There is no time, there is no space, there's just eternity all in a pin drop, right at the tip of a pin. An infinite little ding, singularity of nothingness. That's it. Time and space are an illusion. It's all, dude, they want you to be convinced of your physicality so that you can't touch that. Why? Because they think of themselves as living gods, as embodiments of that. And they believe that just like a wolf has the right to eat a rabbit because it's more evolved to do so, they believe that they are evolved as egoic beings to rule those beings that don't know it. And they've created an entire system of society going back tens of thousands of years at least, but we'll just say 10,000 or so years. They've created a society where only the enlightened masters, the priest class, the rulers of society know. And if anyone else figures it out, that's fine, so long as they stay in their lane and don't try to take control. So you can be an enlightened master, you can be a guru living in India. They don't give a shit that you know your God, so long as you stay in your lane. So long as you don't challenge their system of control too much. A little bit's expected. And in their mind, they figure that they were given the power because they're powerful and rich and all of this, that even if you are awake, they're still more evolved than you. That's how they see it. And so they can, even if you're an enlightened master, they can still take you down, because they believe that they have the divine authority of kings. Look up the divine right of kings, my children, my friends, my fellows. Look it up. That's not a new idea. The god kings of old are still here, and they're still running things. Maybe they're even the same people in some cases. I don't know, because I don't know the limits of what this can do, because there are no limits to what you can do as a divine being incarnate. There's literally no limit. The only limit is what your will and willingness to do. And I don't mean you, the person. I mean you, the incarnation. I mean you, that which incarnates, you, the dreamer. Whatever you're willing to dream is what you will see. Not what you desire as a person. You can desire all day long to have it this way or that way. Your personal desires don't amount to shit. Your personal desires are a reflection. They're a reaction to what your will is doing. The way they see it, they incarnated as those people to rule you. And their egoic being has the right to do so because of the virtue of what it is. So they do. They think we're going against the natural order when we don't do what they want. But I got news for them. The natural order decides what the natural order does, not them. Nature decides. The divine decides, not them. And this is why there's a spiritual component to this war going on. And this is why, interestingly enough, much to the chagrin of people like me, the Christian fundamentalists will pull ahead, probably, and prevail. Because their whole ridiculous ideology, dualistic and wrong as it is as a religious faith, as a dogma, contains that seed of ego transcendence, of submission to God. They externalize God, which is the mistake. But by transcending that, by believing I am just a worm, I don't matter, interestingly enough, they call upon the divine to manifest a reality which is favorable. And anytime you transcend the ego and act as God, or in any way, you can transcend God, you can transcend the ego by simply being this is why I say the right and the left-hand path, as much as I'm a left-hand path guy, they both go to the same thing. You're not necessarily, and somebody's gonna be like, Thorne's doing the Illuminati thing. Fuck you. Both the left and right hand eventually reach the top of the mountain if you follow that path diligently enough. Or you can just go straight up the middle, which I do sometimes. I would, I guess I'm a no-hand path that leans left. So you can get there through complete and utter submission. The problem is if you externalize that which you're submitting to, that's like a chasm you can't jump across. You've got to bring the divine and the self together till you realize they're the same thing. That's what the Gnostic tradition was doing. Sound familiar? It's in every enlightenment ontology there is. It's realizing you are God or closing the gap between you and God. And the Christian is ultimately trying to become a non-dualist, and they just don't know it because they're trying to merge with God. They're trying to go to heaven and never leave God's they're just trying to achieve a non-dual realization and don't even know it. So interestingly enough, as detestable as that might be to some of you, they will probably prevail just because ultimately of that. Their ego, they're transcending their ego by asking the divine to preserve them, to against a group of beings that have decided that they're higher. You see where this is going? So I'm not saying this as like a Christian apologist. You know my view on Christianity is not favorable, at least in terms of the way it's interpreted. Christianity, look, you're talking about the Torah that ends up with some New Testament Gnosticism polluted by the Christian church. The essence that's there that was corrupted is fine. It just got corrupted. You can interpret the Bible, both Christian and any other tradition's version, you can interpret it through a completely mystical, non-dual lens, and it's fine. You come to realize that the deity that they were working through is just a mask of divinity, and it's one that you may not find palatable because it says things are okay that we all don't agree with today. But back then, everyone would have thought it was fine. The whole idea that, I don't know, what's the most heinous thing in the Old Testament that people always use to attack Christianity, Well, look at all of your gods from pagan traditions, you fools. They're not any better. People are like, oh, in the Old Testament, the Bible says that it's okay if you, I don't know, marry a 4-year-old or something, like whatever the hell it is, Okay. What's the story of Medusa? What's the story of Arachne? Don't tell me that the gods in these other traditions are beautiful, love and light, do no wrong types. They have just as many fucked up things that they did too. If anything, all gods suck. Because none of them are it. They're all just masks, just like you're masked for it. None of them have that essence. I shouldn't say they don't have the essence. I mean, they're not it. They're just a mask for it. Pardon, I'm getting tired. I'm speaking wrong. I misspoke. So no, I'm not saying Christianity's right. I'm just saying the irony of ironies is that those people, because of that, and I'm not saying that they're not egoistic, but true or false, doing magic ritual requires a transcendence of the ego for it to work. True or false? What do you think gnosis means to the chaos magician? What do you think it means to not lust after results, to leave it on the altar, to enter a trance in ritual where you're not enter a Gnostic trance. And come on, every single one, guys. It's telling you got to transcend your egoic delusion for it to work. Every single one. Well, people say, well, I've prayed to God and it didn't work. I've done rituals and it doesn't work. Does that mean magic's not real? Frankly, most people's problem with this is it's not the essence of it. It's the way that it has been molded and corrupted and turned into an orthodox, dogmatic bullshit tradition. And that's what science is becoming, isn't it? Science is replacing religion. Patrick gave us another $5 before, which I'm going to get to his next one in a second. He says, ye are gods. We are all one, experiencing itself through different viewpoints. And what is real? Exactly. What is real? Consciousness is real. Everything else is a form realness takes. I agree, Patchwork. It makes more sense to approach the Bible with an esoteric perspective, and all gods have a dark side. And the Christian, Hebrew, Jewish, whatever your word, Abrahamic Bible is a hand-me-down of Sumerian myth, at least Genesis. Anyway, the entire book of Genesis is what's left of the Sumerian, Babylonian mythology told through the Jewish lens. And I'm here to tell you, get the right anthropologist on your side, and they'll tell you that you go back far enough, the Hebrews were polytheistic too. Oh yes, they were. The original, before they were Hebrews, were polytheistic too. That's why I like the channel Esoterica. That guy, love his work on so many levels, especially because despite his own spiritual, obvious, where's the yarmulke and everything, fucking love the guy. He did a wonderful episode on Yahweh. A wonderful episode, and even he acknowledges that back in antiquity, the Hebrews were polytheistic as well. All right, I'm going to start focusing on the chat now, guys. I've been ranting for a while. I hope you guys enjoyed that rant. It's probably a lot like the other rants I've had, but hopefully I said some things that triggered a realization for you that maybe hadn't clicked in the past. Ajna brought up a great point because he brought up the Kundalini thing. For those of you who don't know, they're not the same, but if you look at Kundalini, Tantra, and all of that, and the Sephirah of Kabbalah, no, they're not the same map, but they're both a map of the same territory. Kundalini is a map of the microcosmic man, roughly equivalent to the lower part of the tree of life. Then you get the Baal Kadmon, the macrocosmic man. When we say man, we don't mean male guy with a dick, okay? The classical meaning of man had nothing to do, man was the species. It was even more than that. It was even more than that, okay? It's not just some dude with, we are a microcosm of something. 5 limbs, 5 elements. They saw microcosm and macrocosm in everything. So raising Kundalini, which I haven't bothered with because it's not a tradition that I excel in. I haven't really gotten into it, partially because I would have to find a decent source to practice it from, that would give me practices that I could relate to. And I haven't bothered looking because I have my own style of practices. I'm not saying I'll never try it. I actually am tempted to try to find Ajna, if you've got an online resource that will get me on the right path to it, I'll look it up. I'll see if it's for me. But even that can be transcended. You don't have to do it that way. It's not better or worse. It's just some people click with one way and some another way. And each method has a different set of benefits to it. So let me go back. I say another super chat flopped. Patchy says, oh yeah, no doubt. The original Hebrews prayed to many gods and goddesses. That's right. They did. Order of Black Dragon says, you fool, D.H. Thorne, go raise Kundalini with Chinamasta. No. Nope. I'm good. Maybe. Not yet. I'm not there yet. Thank you, Ajna. See? He says there's Kundalini and then there's Maha Kundalini, which is the macrocosmic one. Are we tired yet of seeing the correspondences, the agreement, the resonance among all these different traditions yet? Look, in science, when you get enough people that agree with each other, they call it the law of, whatchamacallit, right? They call it a theory that's proven when you get consensus. Every ancient tradition, you have to read between the symbolism and the lines, but every ancient tradition was in complete agreement. They just had their own way of saying it. Yeah, they had different maps of it, but they were the same territory being mapped in every... They're all maps of consciousness. They're all true in their own way. All right. I think I said this when Patchy said it all makes sense to approach the Bible with an esoteric perspective and all gods have a dark side. Yep. Solora S says, even Loa practitioners tell you to detach. Absolutely. If you don't detach, if you don't transcend your ego, you're not... I'm not saying magic won't work. It absolutely can. It's just transcending the ego. That's when the training wheels come off. How about that? That's when the training wheels come off. Order of the Black Dragon asks, is Cthulhu compatible enough to integrate into the Hindu pantheon, and is it possible, and is he real? So first of all, I'll have to ask somebody who's from India or adjacent, who like maybe Ajna can answer this better from a cultural perspective. To my understanding, Hinduism accepts pretty much every deity. They just believe that every deity is a mask for the same thing. So you could literally take your favorite stuffed animal and start worshiping that as God. And while some Hindu people might think that's funny, they wouldn't find it insulting. They wouldn't think that you were, if you were doing it sincerely with the right mindset, I think you'd get some looks, but I don't think they would think it was that absurd, because they already understand that that's kind of what they're doing. A lot of them anyway. I don't mean the rank and file everybody, but I mean the mystics, the one who get it, they would be like, no, that's perfectly reasonable. You can worship this soda can. God Almighty, Jesus, totally fine. So now then you ask the second part of that, is he real? When you ask the question, is a deity real? It means you haven't understood the fundamental thing I was trying to explain to you before. There is only one thing that is real, period. Order of the Black Dragon, get a pen and some paper and write this down. There is only one thing that is real. And that is the divine, parentheses, consciousness. Hard period, exclamation point, the end, underline, underscore, circled, tattooed to every inch of your body. That is it. Done. That is the only thing that is real. Everything else is a temporary appearance or manifestation or form that the real assumes. Let me say it again. There is only one thing that is real, and that is the divine, parentheses, consciousness, and everything else is an appearance or form or whatever word you like, manifestation of that. In this understanding, Order the Black Dragon isn't real. D.H. Thorne is not real. But there is reality within us. We are a form reality takes. So, is Cthulhu real? Not real in of itself, no. But is Cthulhu real in that consciousness can take the form of Cthulhu? 100 billion% yes. Consciousness can manifest as anything, as a multiverse of anythings. From down here in this materialistic frame of experience, there is undoubtedly a multiverse of at least one type. Probably all of them. Probably an infinite number, because everything is real. In that, I shouldn't say real. Everything is possible, excuse me. If you can imagine it, it's definitely there. How do I know this? Go take a heroic dose and tell me what you see. Go learn transcendental meditation and unplug from this for a minute. Tell me where you go. The end of the stop is Turiya. It's just pure blissful consciousness in consciousness. It's like the void, okay? But there's a lot of steps between. And each one of, ultimately there's an infinite astral multiverse, a pleroma. I don't care what word you want to use. There's an infinite potentiality which manifests as literally everything to something. Somewhere in that projection that I call a multiverse, Cthulhu is just as real as you. That doesn't mean that that Cthulhu will manifest in this place. So, you might even see Cthulhu for real. You might go outside your house and be like, holy shit, a giant octopus dragon walking around. And no one else will see it. Are you hallucinating? You're hallucinating reality. You're hallucinating this. This is a hallucination too. What's the difference if you got a Cthulhu running around in it? The problem is when it's not even a problem. The difficulty is for me, you, and everybody else that is in this sort of collective wavelength of what we think this material world is, someone who doesn't act right, we call crazy. But in their own little subjective reality, they might be seeing the reality as it is that you miss. Yeah, I mean, even that crazy person who's walking an invisible dog on the end of a leash that's not there. In their reality, there's a dog there. Who are you to say there isn't? Are you there? Are you in their head? Are you seeing the... So it just means they don't fit. You know, sanity is in the mind of the majority. There's nothing objective to sanity. This is a thing that many philosophers have realized, especially those of us who are of the left hand or misanthropic or anti-society or libertarian. We understand that normalcy is a construct. Sanity is a construct. It's what the society thinks as a collective. That's what sanity is. And insanity is an inability to conform to that on some level. Yes, I know in the DSM-5 you have all these different ways. It's true. Because from a mental health perspective, what makes something a disorder or not isn't that you have it. It's that it interferes with your ability to have a a normal full life, we'll say. For example, if you have schizophrenia, according to my understanding, I'd have to get, I haven't speak to Magicology in a while. I wonder if he'd like to do a live stream again. I'd like to pick his brain. According to psychology, having schizophrenia isn't a mental disorder. It only becomes a mental disorder when it interferes with your ability to conform or integrate into society, or to suffer. If you're hearing voices and it's making you unhappy and you can't function, that's a disorder. But just seeing shit, they don't consider that a mental disorder, even if they think you're hallucinating. They accept that some degree of untoward experience is normal. It's a normal part of human life to hallucinate. You're not broken because you see a shadow person in your closet. You're only broken if that closet shadow person causes you to go kill people, you know? But this is what I mean. The powers that be have shaped this bullshit so beautifully. That this entire civilization is mentally ill in the extreme, because we're all born and raised and weaned and indoctrinated into this materialistic, physicalistic, nihilistic, dualistic bullshit show. And they really don't want you to figure it out. There's a reason why the scientific community, on average, at least the public face of it, not behind the scenes, because I know a few, but the public face of it is dogmatically opposed to anything that is not physicalist or materialistic. Spirituality to them is just a mental disorder or a hallucination, and gods and all is all just bullshit, because they only operate in this very limited interface. The average materialistic scientist is like somebody who is sitting so close to a computer screen that they don't know that there's a reality beyond that screen. They think reality is just what they see on the icons on the display. They do not recognize that there's a computer operating behind it, that there's a whole universe around them. They only know the superficial interface. What you see is what you get. And even though they know that that is just an interface, they know that, and yet they still assume that the interface is truthful, not simply representative. And it's only now that there's a handful of scientists stepping up to the plate and kicking their ass. Bernardo Castro, Donald Hoffman, and a few others that don't get as much play that I don't know their names of, but I remember hearing about. And I think that in some form, what they're saying will bear out. It may take a generation, it may take 100 years. How long did it take before Einstein's ideas were finally accepted? Shit, there's some that are still being tested. Although I think we've pretty much proven and disproven all the ones that he said, but it took a long time before people had to die and stop arguing against it. The establishment literally had to have the dogmatic people die before they would accept what fucking Einstein said. It's going to be the same thing with this. Probably not in your lifetime, but someday, if science is legitimate at all and not just completely corrupted, like the church, if science can stop being dogmatic long enough, I think they'll eventually figure it out. But there's not any funding for that, is there? Nope, there's only funding for what? For materialism. Patchwork isn't real neither, but I am. Exactly. Why do you think it says I am that I am? Hey, Scarlet. I see Scarlet the Brain Witch is here. Scarlet Bale's Brain Witch, what's up? Hope everything is well with you. Glad to see everybody. You know, we haven't seen in a while. I haven't seen Behemoth X in a while. I should message him. It's been a minute. He's probably on his own thing. He's probably like, Thorne's just in a non-duality. He's not doing demons anymore. Love him to death, but busy. And that's fine. I still love Behemoth. EA too. If anybody talks to EA and them, just tell them I said hi. Tell them what's up. Syncubus, good. I'm glad these bills are not real. Well, I mean, they're not. They're a social construct that you agree to, but yeah. Maiden Liberty, we're all crazy. Yes, you are. The very definition of incarnation is a form of psychic insanity. It's a form of spiritual insanity. That's why I loved Alan Watts when he said that Zen is just kind of like psychology for the soul. What's up, Christian? I don't know if I saw you before. What's up? Odo says, hell yeah, DH, woohoo. I don't know what I said that you love, but I'm glad that you love it, and I'll say it again if you want. Oh, Scarlett, I didn't know you knew psychology. Yeah, that could be interesting to talk about. That might be a fun little side interview. That could be good. I like checking to see how things overlap, because psychology is one of those few areas where I believe spirituality is not verboten right off the top. It's still taken with at least respect, if not seriousness. That's been my experience anyway, at least when dealing with psychologists, not so much psychiatrists, because I don't really deal with psychiatrists, but psychologists, there's plenty of them that are full believers in magic and esoteric and mystical shit, you know, and they're still respected as rational. So, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Cool. She says, I am a doctor. All right. So you can correct me if I'm wrong with anything. I don't know if you heard what I said before, but feel free to correct the record if I got it wrong. But I was talking about how schizophrenia and stuff is not by default. Yeah, you mentioned function in daily living. Okay, so hopefully I got that right. I was speaking from a place of I think, not I know. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm chirping like I'm talking to my bird. I think I'm hanging out with my bird too much. I'm literally tweeting like my bird is here. My bird's asleep. She's fucking pain in my ass. I love the bird, but goddamn, she's too hardcore bonded to me. Like, I guess she thinks I'm her mate now. Which, you know, she's this big, so that ain't happening. Right. Psychologists are not necessarily psychonauts. That's true. Yeah. DH, what's your bird's name? Can you tell us? I always refrain from telling pet names because as a public figure, I'm not saying I never do it, but I don't usually do it because I'm not scared or anything, but the last thing I want is for some jackass that doesn't like me to like throw curses at my pets or something, because it's like, it's one of those things where it's also one of those things where I don't like too much of my real life bleeding into my online persona. Like the little bit of my life that I let you guys see is structured in a way where I'm not ashamed of anything in my life. Like ask Fleshy, it's nothing like that. It's just, there's a reason that I don't share my address and my full real name. There's a reason for it. I want to never allow my online character persona to bleed too much into my real self or vice versa, to the point where I become like those lunatic, you know, actors that become their role and can't, you know, I don't want, there's a lot of reasons why. And most of them have to do with privacy and others have to do with just keeping DH Thorne and Daniel with a little space between them. So they're not connected psychically, energetically, hanging up the mask when I'm done. This way, when people insult DH Thorne, it only hurts a little bit. Right? If DH Thorne is me too much, then when someone says DH Thorne's a fat, dumb fuck, ow. It's one thing. Trust me, people who've met me and know me know that at least some of this act is a strong word, but I am hamming it up. I am ranting on purpose. I am turning up my personality to 11. If you ever meet me in person, I'm usually a little bit more quiet and reserved. I know I'm a little bit less likely to interrupt you and be a dick. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm just saying I'm a little bit more mellow. I'm a little bit more laid back in person. Anybody who met me in person and spent any time with me can tell you that I'm not making that up. So I like having boundaries, is what I'm saying. And a little bit of this, when I say it's an act, I don't mean it's a disingenuous act. I just mean that I am playing a character for you guys a little bit. Some of it, I am letting loose and I'm letting my energy just go and just have fun. But that's also an act, because normally I'm less likely to do that. I get carried away, I guess, when I'm doing this character. And I don't like to necessarily get them too confused. Oh, thank you, Ajna. I mean, Alpha. Thank you. Alpha says, I'm great in person. Well, thank you. Odo says, I liked your outside video of the weapon demonstration. Can we get more? What weapon demonstration? I know I did something with a stick once. I don't know. I did some video with like a sword. That was back 100 pounds ago. So I don't know. I fucked my shoulder up. I would love to do at least some of that just for fun, even though like a lot of people make fun of that online because first of all, I'm not as practiced as I used to be, so I don't look as good as I maybe once did with it. But my fucking right shoulder's just been shot for like 3 months. Like I slept on it wrong and I think I tore a ligament or something. So it's like, I have like it's beyond stiff. Like it actually can feel like I'll see stars if I bend it too far the wrong way. But, you know, Wyatt, it's not, for me, my relationship to spirits and those things is not so, it's not so objective. Like, how do I put this? I don't know, Scarlett. It could be a bone spur or something. It could be. I think I hurt my shoulder when I slept, though, because we got a new mattress and I started sleeping on that side a lot. And I think what happened was in my sleep, I must have been like rolling over and I must have just tried to push off so hard that I might have tore it. But it almost does feel like there's something like a piece of something went in, almost like a monkey wrench getting thrown in some gears. It does have like I can't lift it on purpose. Like it's not, I can't even lean in. I have to probably go to a doctor. I don't want to. I don't trust the medical industry. Sorry. I just don't. I'm sure there's a word for that, Scarlett. I'd probably trust you, but I don't trust the medical industry, if that makes sense. I have a friend, I haven't spoken to him in a while, but he's out here on Long Island. He's an emergency room doctor. And I asked him, like, can I trust doctors? He's like, generally no. He's like, generally no. Generally they're just, it's just a job. They're just trying to make money. And they're trying to sell you drugs and shit. That's not to say that they're totally unethical, because they have to be some degree ethical, but he's like, if you have a friend who's a doctor, that's one thing, but watch out. Scarlett, see? Scarlett, they all say that. She says, totally makes sense. I don't trust them either, and I am one. See? So you're just like my friend who's the emergency room doctor. Anyway, back to Wyatt's comment. My experience of the spirit world is not objective, and I don't know anybody's whose really is. That isn't to say that occasionally it won't be objective. Occasionally it is objective. But the objectivity of the spirit world is always objective symbolically, not usually directly. Thank you, Order of the Black Dragon. I really appreciate that. Just do me a favor, and if you're going to do that, make sure you jizz on my fucking shoulder in a picture, please, and put happy love healing jizz onto it, please. I don't care what you can. Just don't send me a picture of your dick or something. I don't care. What do I care? Crow says, how you holding up, Thorne? Been a while. Yes, brother. Are you, is that JB's crow or is that a different crow? What's up, brother? Hopefully you're doing well. And if it is JB's crow, how's JB doing? I haven't heard from him in a while. I know he's been up to some stuff, but. And if you're not that crow, forgive me because I'm bad with memory and names, but whichever crow you are, thank you. It has been a while. It's probably why I might not remember if it's somebody else. No offense. I'm bad at that. No dick pics, please. I mean, if you send me a dick sigil, you can send, dudes. Yeah, can we normalize sending dick sigils to people, please, instead of dick pics, just dick sigils? Oh my god. Yeah, good. It's JB's crow. I'm glad you did. How's you? Speaking of injuries and stuff, how's your back doing, brother? Hopefully you're doing all right. But yeah, tell JB to say hi. I haven't seen him in a while either. Or I hope you're doing well with JB too. I know family stuff can be fun, but hopefully he's doing well. Hopefully he's enjoying the spectacle of what's going on in the world. Hopefully everybody is. For those in the know, this is going to get fun really soon. A lot of you people are not going to. Okay, I get it. Hopefully everything's okay. And if it's not okay between you and him, I get it. I don't take sides. I'm not gonna get in the middle. So I just hope everything's going good for the both of you. Unless you're talking about your back with the can of worms. If that's your back, then again, I'm sorry if I'm misreading you there. So back to the spirit world. So for the most part, like, let's say you talk to my familiar, assuming you did, which is potentially doubtful. You may have gotten his attention, but let me put it like this. Each one of us sees our own personal manifestation of the same infinite divine reality. Each one of us is like a drop of dew on the web, on Indra's web. Okay. We all see our own reflection of the same infinite divine totality. And the way we see it isn't the same as everybody else. So when I look in a mirror and when you look at me in the face, even though we can agree it's the same face, we don't see the same face. So let's say you try to commune with my familiar. Let's say you try to conjure it or call it or reach out to it. You will manifest your own mask of it. You will manifest your own interface representation of it. And if you have an accurate enough lock on the archetype that is its essence, then you may be connected to the same thing. It just might take a form that's a little different, that's more familiar to you. And if you send a message through that conduit, that message will go to that archetype, bounce off. I'm just giving you this isn't really accurate. This is just a way of thinking of, this is just a metaphor. You'll send a message to that and then it will come through to me in my own way, but it won't be objective. It's not like you sending me an email. You can't be like, Nicodemus, tell DH Thorne, 42 plus X-teen, blah, 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 and send me a message that's literal like that. What is most likely to happen, either because of my own limitations or yours, because I'm not some grand magus enlightened master, I'm working on it. But let's say you message me that way. I'm not likely to get the exact message. I'm likely to get the context, not the content. And understanding the difference between context and content is a very important thing that I'm learning lately, because I've learned that my level of intuition, premonition, whatever, is never supremely accurate in content, but it's just about never wrong in context. So context would be something bad's going to happen today. Content would be I'm going to break my leg today. So if I predict that I'm going to break my leg today, I'll probably be wrong. But I may hurt my leg. I may fall down a flight of stairs. I may lose my job. Something bad that is a hindrance to me may happen. The context will be right. The content will be wrong, or could be. So on average, my contextual predictions are, I stopped keeping score a long time ago because it's just tiring to just say got it all the time. So let me be conservative and say I'm 80% accurate. It might be more, it might be less, but I would say roughly 80%. On a good day, obviously more than that. Content-wise, I'm more like 20 or 30%. Or just a little above what mathematical average would be. So let me put it to you like this. If I do those little card games where you're supposed to predict what's on the card, but you can't see it, like wavy lines, star. If I'm trying to see what it is, I get it wrong. If I just try to be right and not worry about what the symbol is, that's when I get it. Does that make sense? Like if I go, I'm going to get this next one right, I'm going to get it right. I don't mean if I say that. I mean, if I feel it, if I feel this next one's the one. It's not that I could pick any of them at random and I'll get it right. But if you said, what's the next card going to be? I have no fucking clue. Oh, that's the best. So that's what I'm learning. That's my style of intuition. It's not contact. It's not content. It's contextual. Patrick says, kind of like how we don't all see the same shade of blue and how everyone else sees things a bit differently from one another. Basically, although I would say we don't know for sure whether or not if other people see the same color blue, but exactly, that's why we don't know. Like, we don't know because there's no way to objectify color. We just know what color is, and we know that certain things have colors we would agree to call the same thing, but we don't know what the subjective experience of that color is exactly. So you got it pretty close. So when someone is contacting a spirit, they're going to get their own subjective version of it, no matter how you cut it. And especially since we're working with things that are not of this manifested dimension, and we're talking about something more abstract, it's going to be different for everybody. So Wyatt says, brought up Trump. I don't really want to get into this too much tonight because this is something I'm contextually going to be right about, but content-wise, I don't know for sure. What I'm going to tell you, because I don't want to get into this too far tonight. You guys are watching a show. Trump is the front man. The stuff that I now currently will say, I don't like to deal in beliefs, but I don't know for sure what's happening because I'm not. All I can tell you is intuitively speaking, the problem is for me to tell you what I think is going to happen or the direction it's going to go would require outlining a bunch of shit. People are going to call me like a Q-tard and all kinds of shit. There's stuff that's going on that I am very confident of now, just seeing how this is happening. It's all a show. Will he be arrested? Will he do time in jail? Will he blah, 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 blah? Maybe. But if you think that he's just some dumb billionaire who decided to try to be president, believe whatever you want. Time's going to show different. Maybe they'll kill him, but I don't think so. Cause I think that you're watching a show, guys. Let me just put it to you like this. I put this to my boss / uncle not long ago. And this kind of, I saw his eyes widen when I said this because he kind of realized what I meant. I said, boss, uncle, in your business, how far in advance would you say you plan things? He says, well, to give you an idea, I'm already ordering next year's plants for the spring, and it was only like April. So it's safe to say you plan things roughly a year in advance. He's like, yeah, give or take, some things less, some things more. Yeah. Okay. Now imagine you're the government. How far in advance do you think they plan things? How far in advance do you think billionaires with giant empires plan things? How far in advance do you think militaries? How the grand chessboard of this planet? How far in advance does everyone plan things? Guys, they have Agenda 21, Agenda 30, Agenda 40. And they came up with those 50 years ago. And all they do is they take those same plans and they adjust them as things change, but they're the same plan. Do you really think that everything that's happening right now is happening as it appears to be happening? Do you really think that things just happen organically I'm not saying nothing does. I'm just saying on average, the big movements of society, do you think that they happen suddenly? Even fucking, I can't even say this on YouTube, even the beer plague. Do you think that that was just surprise? It was an accident. Do you even think that that was just, you know what, let's do it this year? Guys, it was supposed to happen under Hillary. It was always part of Agenda 21 for something like that. It's always been, guys. Do you think Trump is just some guy reacting to the situation and just reacting to Trump? Guys, do you even know who he is, what his bloodline is? Guys, you're all being played. All of you. Is there a benevolence to the playing? I like to think so. I like to think that there's a benevolence to what Trump and co are doing. My personal feelings of him are biased in favor of him. Objectively, though, I don't know. I believe that whatever his deal is, it's more benevolent for me than the alternative. And that's all I need to know for now. Right now, today, there's a scene in this movie. Trying to think of how the scene went. I think it was Johnny Mnemonic. And like they gave the one character like two alternatives. And it's like that motherfucker's about to cut his whole head off. You know, like the alternative's getting shot or getting your head cut off. You know, I forget what the scene was. But the point is, I know that people have been correctly understanding that the lesser of two evils is a terrible choice. You shouldn't choose evil at all if you can help it. But there's also a situation where it's called a purity spiral. Raise your hand in the comments if you know what a purity spiral is. A purity spiral is when you're so idealistic that any flaw or any collection of flaws can cause you to basically look a gift horse in the mouth or question a miracle, or instead of supporting a better cause, because it's not perfect, you completely alienate yourself from it and work against it. So for example, me as a minarchist libertarian, Trump and MAGA populism isn't my ideal. It's not really what I want. And a lot of people that are like me decide that because it's not exactly what we want, we should shun it. They would say shun them both. Shun globalist, you know, whatever, neoliberalism, and shun populist nationalism, whatever they're going to call it. And I understand the sentiment. And maybe at this point it doesn't matter, because if you are even remotely sensitive, you know that at least here in the United States, the idea that, look, I ask people to come to my job. I ask people I run into. People are either 100% for him, indifferent, or they don't like him, but they're apathetic and don't plan on doing anything about it now. Because they realize that the alternative that they chose in 2020 was a mistake. Anybody doesn't see that, I ignore them. Anybody who's like, Trump's bad, Trump's the... At this point, it's not even, you're going to say morally bad, maybe, you know, it's just dumb. at this point. It's not about him. Trump is a figurehead. He is the front man for a coalition of nations and armies that do not want the New World Order. Now, there's another layer to this, though. There's another question. And that question is this. Is that organic? Or is this current feud also part of a plan from a higher hidden master hierarchy? In other words, my pet theory has been since 2020 started, I got a hit, call it a psychic hit, that the powers that be, the real powers, I don't mean even Bill Gates or Trump or any of these people. I mean the ones who really pull the deep strings, okay? That they are offering humanity basically a red pill, blue pill choice. They've literally colored it that way, for fuck's sake. And they said, do you want globalist tyranny or free-range populist whatever? Which option do you prefer? Now, maybe they were supposed to pick neither, but if that's the case, then nobody's picking it. It's already done. We've already picked one of the two. So, what do? Me personally, I still work towards my libertarian ideal. But I recognize that the only way I'm going to get that is by piggybacking off of the populist movement, because they're the only thing that's remotely close, because the other one's entirely antithetical to it. Like if I'm checking boxes, you know, like you ever do like with the product comparison, if you do this one, like the free version, you get all this, but you miss this, and this one's got it all, but not that. And then, so while MAGA populism doesn't check all my boxes for what I want, it also doesn't check all the boxes for what I don't want. Whereas the alternative literally checks every box of what I don't want and checks like one box of what I do want. And that box is temporary because they're only doing it to sedate you. That is the end of controlled substances, saying, you know, medicinal plants should be legal. That's it. Every single other option on that list is all bad or something I don't want. So you can sit there and be like, Thorne, how could you be okay with this? This is bad. Don't purity spiral, dude. You're just going to... Maybe I'm just used to crisis situations doing bouncing work in the past and shit. Maybe I just have a better attitude about triage and finding my path around obstacles. Because I don't sit there and, like a bullheaded asshole, try to just beat them all into submission to follow what I want. I look at things, as an Aries, that's rare, by the way. I look at situations and I go, where's the weak? How can I get around? How can I sidestep the problem? Or how can I piggyback? I don't look at things like binary purity spiral type shit. I don't judge, like just the way I don't judge people that maybe don't think like me 100% or whatever. You have to really be like existentially threatening to me for me to not at least be nice to you and treat you with dignity. Now, you can be a hardcore leftist. If you're a libertarian leftist that doesn't want me to be censored and you think that it's wrong what the system's doing to everybody, you just want some sort of socialism. Dude, I just disagree with you. You're still probably a great person. You know who's a problem? The woke asshole who thinks I'm a white supremacist because I vote for Trump. That guy's my enemy. That person gets no respect from me. Zero. Ding. And they shouldn't. For the same reason that a person who's homosexual should have a problem with a fundamentalist that wants to stone them to death. It's no different. Is Trump going to get arrested? He's already been booked a bunch of times. These are all show trials, guys. Will any of the charges stick? I don't know if that's in the game plan or not. What I do know, contextually speaking, well, there's only two ways this works. One, the Trump camp loses, the deep state wins, and then there will be probably the very next day the first shots of a civil war. Probably. If you think that the right is going to just say, well, I guess it's over, Trump lost, we're done, we better just find somebody else. After what has been done since COVID, that ship has sailed. It's only a matter of time after that happens. Look, let me put it to you this way. I said this to my family. I've said this to friends. If it goes that way, they assassinate him, they put him in jail, he loses the election, any of that shit. I'm not saying within the day, but very soon after it's clear that that resolution is what's happening, a couple of things are going to happen. One, I'm probably going to go check myself in for a little bit, get the good stuff, and then I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to dis-a-fucking-peer. Because I know what's coming after that. And what's coming after that, don't you fucking find me, I'll fucking do to you what I'll do to anybody who trespasses. Because what's coming will make Mad Max look like a fucking painting party with fucking pastels. It may take a little while. It may take 10, 20 years. But what's coming after that, people are like, Thorne, you sound like a Trump caller. Fuck you. You just don't know what's going on. You don't understand what's at stake right now. What comes after that is everything that the Alex Jones types told you. And it's going to come with a vengeance because people are not going to take it because too many people know now. The toothpaste is out of the tube. We're not going back in. So what are they going to do? You think they're just going to roll over and say, well, we did all this to beat Trump. We're just going to let you go now? Oh, hell no. But I don't think that's going to happen. My intuition contextually is telling me that's not going to happen. Content-wise, I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know whether Trump wins, Trump takes the mask off and he's really the commander-in-chief and he arrests everybody and there's tribunals. I don't know the content that's going to happen. I just know contextually the direction it's going to go. I'm very confident. So I have sort of a hopeful wait and see attitude. And my advice to everybody who's concerned, prepare as if next year is going to be COVID on steroids, possibly with mushroom clouds, at least in one or two places. Very good. Certainly a cyber attack, power outage, comm breakdown it may keep happening. It may not be one event. It may be every couple of weeks the internet goes out for a week at a time. Don't be fucking surprised. Next year, for the next 1 to 3 years, I am not going to stop saying this until we're in like 25 or it looks like it's over. We are heading for a perfect storm of history. This is biblical, the shit that's going on, and people don't know it. Anybody who's, oh, Trump's a racist, oh, Trump's a hero, he's a messiah. All this binary propaganda shit is going to blow up in your faces if you fall into it too far. All I say and all I'm doing is I am supporting the side that doesn't seem to want to put me into concentration camps, forcefully inoculate me, give me the mark of the beast, take my money, take my freedom, take my guns, take my reproductive rights. I'm siding with the other side, even if only for now. And when it looks like it's clear, I'll go back to being my own little rebellious self and fighting against the parts of that I don't like. The theocratic Christians that want to take over that movement and make it so their Christian nationalism wins. No, they should have a seat at the table. They're citizens like anybody else. They should have a say. But the idea that this should become some kind of a theocratic, oh, fuck you, I will treat you the same way as the woke just as fast. Don't you think that people like me are just going to let you do that either? You're not the majority of us either. You're only a little bigger of a minority than the woke assholes are, by the way. You will be overrun just as fast when push comes to shove. Nobody likes that either. But I guess if I have to choose between the woke moron that hates me because I'm white and straight and thinks that I'm this and that, or the Christian who thinks I'm like some kind of devil worshiper, I don't know, dude. They're kind of like hand in hand, but I already know that the Christian, I know how to deal with them. They're not popular. They're just not. Most people are somewhere in the middle and don't like either of these groups. Okay? So it's not really about that. Don't let them try to make you think it is. I bet you I got a lot of comments be like, Thorne's an asshole. Thorne's right. Oh boy. All right. So I don't have all the specifics on his bloodline, but I believe he's Rh positive. He is not, sorry, Rh negative, excuse me. And he is actually more connected to Atlantis, we'll say, than you realize. We'll just leave it at that. Look up, Robert Sepper did a really interesting video about him and and the truth about him. So why, no, I didn't get the familiar told me to. I just, I've been thinking it a few times, and the other night I was like, nah, it's time. So maybe my familiar did act as a go-between, and maybe it's possible. Just because I didn't necessarily get a direct message like that, I don't usually get that. For me, it's intuition from source, and sometimes source takes the form of a familiar or a deity. I have my familiar's, anchor here, his vessel. So he's with me most of the time. Wyatt says, I thought Trump wasn't quite in on it. No, he's in on the whole thing. He didn't break in. He didn't just say, I want to be president and see what happens. Fuck no. He's been doing this probably since the 90s. Now, does that mean he's a good guy, or was he roped into it because he was on Epstein Island? I don't fucking know. When I see him and I read his energy, as my strongest gift is not empathy, it's like deep penetrating sonar, radar, whatever. Like, imagine a sperm whale and just sees through shit. That's kind of like what I do. There's not a lot of people that I can't read like a book. Most people are an open book to me. Within seconds, I got you. I've often said it takes me about 30 seconds to a minute to get a baseline on somebody. And after that, I just refine that baseline till I've got you figured out. And I know what to say. I know what not to say. It's one of the reasons why I seem charming, because within a few minutes, I know what I'm saying that you like and what you don't. It actually gives me a lot of anxiety though, because I know when I say something, even to you guys, I know when I say something and certain people aren't going to like it. I can feel it. Like, I just feel it. And there's an understanding if I don't know if Scarlett's still here. Maybe she can back me up on this. People who've gone through a lot of childhood trauma with people who are alcoholics or abusive or any of that stuff, they tend to be really good at reading people, because you have to be able to predict when you're going to get yelled at over nothing. So you end up being hypersensitive. Well, that hypersensitivity, if you can transcend the trauma, becomes a superpower. Now, a lot of the times when I'm deceived by people, it's because I don't want to believe what I already know. Like when people would cheat on me growing up and I didn't see it coming. I always saw it coming, but I didn't accept it. You know what I mean? I'd be like, well, I don't think they would do that. Or I would trust when they lied to me because I didn't want to believe the truth. But I always knew, and the way I know that I knew is because I would, like one girlfriend, for example, that cheated on me bad. I was almost too needy because she made me feel like she was going to cheat on me all the time. So I was like, who are you going to that party with? You know, I acted possessive and weird because I didn't feel secure. Oh boy, was I right. You know, it wasn't, she didn't cheat because I acted that way. That was just, I felt that that could happen. I felt it coming. And maybe I made it easier because I was being a little weird, to, you know, full disclosure. I was a young, dumb kid. I was 17, 18, 19. I don't remember. I didn't know how to act. And instead of handling it like an adult and be like, listen, if you can't decide, then I'm good. I'll find somebody else. Because I didn't have confidence. I thought this was the only love I'd ever have because I was insecure. I just cucked all over myself and made myself a fool. Well, growing up, I learned to read people. It took a while, but you can ask my wife. It's pretty much, I have like laser radar sonar. I just see through people. It's like you're transparent to me most of the time. I'll say that maybe 2 out of 100 people are hard for me to read. And then once I finally break through the barrier, I can always break. Give me enough time, I'll break through. Some people are harder than others, but eventually you can't hide from me. I figure you out. You can ask Eddie. You can ask Fleshy. There's people who I have just within seconds of coming to know them on the internet, I know what they're about. There was people that they're like, oh, they seem okay to me. I'm like, nah, nope. Trust me. And then it turns out they're fucking sending dick pics and pedo shit to people. How did I know that? I don't know. I could just feel you. I just know you suck. I feel your energy. It's toxic. I can tell. I can tell you're a problem. It's not something objective. I just know. When I was younger, that gift that I had, formative and young as it wasn't fully all there yet. My one friend who died, Andreas, who I miss very much, said that gift of mine was probably from the Nephilimic ancestry, the bloodline, because it's said that angelic beings, and of course we're talking metaphor here a little bit, angelic beings see through people. That could be a latent expression of that going back bloodline wise. I don't know. That's what he used to say. But as I get older, the less I can deny that probably the best psychic gift I have is reading people. I don't mean reading you with tarot cards. I mean, I would be a great psychiatrist, a great psychologist. Probably not, though, because I'd be telling you too much about yourself. I wouldn't give you enough chance to process it. I'd be too busy. By the way, did you know you have this and that and blah, blah, blah. I'm too polite for that, too, by the way. Like, one of the things that you learn if you learn how to read people is don't tell people too much about themselves because it makes them weird and it changes it. Just let them be them. Maiden Liberty says, so Trump being controlled op is a foregone conclusion? It depends on how you're seeing things. On the level that I currently believe, no, I think that he's the front man for a coalition that legitimately is opposing the New World Order. But there's another layer which says the New World Order and that coalition may be two sides of a crucible fight that has been set up by the real hidden masters to create this situation, this turning point. Because look, guys, we're at the dawning of this new age. And the outpouring can be an outpouring of relief and a golden age for all, or it can be an outpouring, it could be a harvest. It could be an outpouring of suffering and a harvest which only benefits the few. Either one can be it. So which do you want, humanity? Last time you chose spiritual slavery under the age of Pisces. Which is it going to be this time? Did you get chills up your spine or not? The last time they offered us a choice, we chose spiritual slavery as a civilization. We didn't choose spiritual liberation. Jesus, if he was real, came offering spiritual liberation, but it got corrupted and turned into what? Spiritual slavery for 1,500 plus years. Which one do you think we're going to choose this time? Well, this time we have a very aggressive Enlightenment era streak of liberty running through at least one country. It was on life support for a while, but it's waking up now. Dude, any day now, like I expect to hear like, you know, the old freaking revolution. I expect any minute. I'm not kidding. Just go on Twitter and follow all the right people and you're going to see. You still have some dummies out there who are still like, oh, nope. Enough of the right people know what's going on. They're awake, they're pissed, and I would hate to be the New World Order right now. And people are like, Thorne, how could you say that? Look how bad it is. It's supposed to look bad. Do you know why it's supposed to look bad? Guys, stop thinking I have friends that are very doomer black pill. And they think that there's no hope. Dude, there's never hope. It's not about that. But get the pessimism out of your head. Think for a moment. The vast majority of humanity has been blissfully unaware of the reality of the New World Order. And that's just my name for it. You can call it whatever you want. The Illuminati, the Cabal, I don't give a fuck. The globalist oligarchs, I don't know. The Anunnaki, whatever you want. For generations, they have been doing their thing in the background, setting up for the coming age that they will rule with an iron technocratic fist that's going to make 1984 and They Live and THX 1138 and all of those things look like a happy little wet dream compared to what they have in store. And for generations, all of you have been dead ass asleep and don't know it. How do you get that to be fixed? Well, there is this thing called accelerationism, which means you cause the enemy's plan to be forced into a state where it must proceed at a rate that cannot be controlled so that the average person starts to see it happening. Because if you let them do it their way, it happens slowly enough, like the boiling frog thing, which of course is not true, but as a metaphor, it's still fine. I mean, of course, a frog will jump out of boiling water, trust me. If you check it out, that's a disproven myth. But the metaphor is accurate. They've been boiling this frog for generations, and left to their devices without anything like what's been happening, no one would have known. You morons would have, and I mean that to other people, those morons would have voted for Hillary. Hillary would have been president. COVID would have happened anyway, because it was always going to. Sorry, Susan Wojcicki or whoever's running YouTube. That's just my opinion, allegedly. You can deplatform me. I'll just go to Rumble. Fuck all y'all. This plan has been in the works. And somebody threw a giant orange monkey wrench into the middle of it and exposed it. So you don't have to like the man, but you have to respect the simple fact that if he hadn't have shown up, won that election, what do you think would have happened under Hillary with COVID? What do you think would have happened? Do you think there would have been any resistance at all to the idea of complete lockdowns, forced vaccination, rounding up people who didn't want it? Do you think it would have gone off in even the chaotic way that it looked? Do you think we would have had riots that year? Do you think they would have staged half the shit that they staged? No. You would all still be locked down to this day. We'd all be broke. We'd all be begging the government for help, and they'd be rolling out more and more tyranny as a result to get control of the situation they caused to save you from them. But you won't know it was that. I would know, because I've known for a long time this was coming. Why do you think I wasn't scared in 2020? Why do you think I was telling you guys to relax and this is part of it? Because I knew. I'm not stupid. I pay attention because this shit is my thing. I'm a Luciferian, motherfucker. I'm allergic to tyranny. I look at authoritarian tyranny and I go, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. I'm either going to beat you or I'm going to be a fucking cockroach and just live around you. I'll go. That's why I said, if I'm wrong and the other side wins this next round, which anything could happen. I mean, just because I'm confident doesn't mean I'm right. So if I'm wrong, I will disappear. You'll see me streaming from a bunker somewhere in the woods that you don't even know where it's going to be. You'll never know. Because it's not my way. If you, like I've always said, if you ever see me kneeling, it's because I'm either reaching for something in my boot or it's just long enough to get away from you. I don't have so much pride that I won't pretend to kneel just to get away. I'm not dying on principle. So in the end of this charade, I think it's going to happen quick. I think the next 2 years, something's going to happen, and there's going to be a quick flip of everything. And the average person won't be able to deny it anymore. Yes, a lot of people go, I still don't like Trump. That's fine. He's a very unlikable guy if you listen to the media. Most of you guys who hate him, I don't think you've ever really sat and listened to him. I think you've listened to the media clips where they cut shit wrong, or you just don't like his tone or something. Remember, I read people for a living. If you sat me next to Schumer and Trump, I would hug Trump. Not because of I'm part of some fucking party. This is the thing that pisses me off. People think that I support him because I'm a Republican or something. No, fuck you. I hate Republicans. Fuck no. No. I hated his guts at first when he popped up on a stage because I didn't see him yet. All I saw at first was just another fucking guy who I thought was part of the Uniparty. I didn't give him a chance yet. Within about a half hour of listening to him, I'm like, oh, maybe. I started reading him. And as I read him, it started to click. And then he said a few of the right things. I'm like, he wouldn't say that. He wouldn't have said that unless he knew what was up, unless he was on the right side. He wouldn't be talking about how the social media companies are censoring people and being influenced by foreign nations and our own country to censor people and shit. When he started talking like that, that was the final. Nope, he's not full of shit. He's telling who? No one goes against big tech. No one. The left, the liberals used to be all about freedom of speech. Now they're like, well, only facts should be free. If you're not speaking the truth, you should be censored. That's not the liberals that I grew up respecting. They're worse than the conservatives used to be. So what's going on right now? And I don't want to spill the beans too much because it's actually better if you don't know. It's better if you think it's hopeless. It's better if you think that the enemy is winning and that Trump's going to go to jail. It's better if you think that we're about to go under. Because when this resolves and the solution, we're in the middle of what's called a Hegelian dialectic. Normally that Hegelian dialectic is used to fuck you. Normally the Hegelian dialectic is used to make you believe that the only solution is to give up freedom. So what they'll do, they'll take down an important pair of buildings so that you agree to things like acts that are very patriotic sounding, so that you give up your freedom. And when you go on an airplane, it's okay if they touch your kid on the dick, or it's okay if they, you see what I mean? They cause these crises because they have a solution that they want to implement. And the only way, you would never agree to that solution except there's a crisis. So you would take the fucking, that's why I did, there's the story of the Pied Piper. There's different interpretations of it. The lowest level interpretation is always pay the piper. The highest level interpretation is the fucking piper brought the rats in the first place, dummy. The rats didn't show up on their own accord. The motherfucker was already luring them into your city. If the people of Hamlet knew that, they never would have gone with them in the first place. So the enemy of free humanity has been using, yes, problem, reaction, solution, exactly, Too Fresh. The enemy of humanity, of free humanity, has been using problem, reaction, solution for as long as every one of you have been alive, to the point where you can't tell it's happening. The average person, I can see it. I've been able to see it for a long time. The average person listening to this, maybe not you guys, maybe you guys are more clued in, but the average person in this country or this world can't see it. They're totally blind to it. They've never been taught to look for it. They assume, they accept things on face value. The enemy thinks they're animals, and for all intents and purposes, compared to them, they might as well be. I'm not saying they are, but they might as well be, because they're just not cognizant. They don't understand. They're oblivious. They're zombies. They're not quite NPCs. They're just still asleep. They don't know. So when they pull the Hegelian dialectic, they bend over for whatever it is that they say, and they'll attack you if you don't. Just like after 9/11, when a pair of buildings came down, everybody, including me, because I wasn't awake yet, was like, we need to go to the war with Middle East, and we need to have the Patriot Act, and we need all of this. If I was awake then, I would have killed myself. The person, I would have slapped myself, that person. That person was stupid. Even if I believed that it wasn't an inside job, I still would have said they're going to use this for bad, though. Sorry, Wyatt, but if what I think's going to happen comes true, he's going to be crying a lot more soon. Send pictures. No offense. Oh, thank you, Scarlett. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That is generous. Thank you, Scarlett. We should definitely do a stream, because I would like to pick your brain on some psychiatry at some point, but that might be fun. That might be fun. I got a couple coming up in a row, so just get with me and maybe we'll see if you want to. If you want to, just let me know. But thank you so much for that. She says, good night. Great talk as always. Thank you, Scarlett. Very generous. All right. So what is going on right now? Well, this is also a Hegelian dialectic, except this time I am very confident. That doesn't mean I know for sure, but I'm very confident that you're witnessing a planned, scheduled shit show that is meant to wake up the sleepyheads, to get them all to realize that we've been asleep too long and that we need to do something dramatic to fix it. And that thing is something that if it was done a few years ago, nobody would have been okay with. Even I might have questioned it. It's not going to come to that, Wyatt. I'm pretty sure it won't. But I'm preparing like it's a possibility. I don't want you to be that way, dude. You got to realize that you're being scared on purpose so that in a year or so, when it comes time to do what needs to be done, the average person will go, I guess it is that serious. We need to do it. Now, remember, context over content. I don't know the content. I just know the context. I am expecting, I don't know if it's going to be tribunals, martial law. I don't know. Dude, there's people out there who make a compelling case that half the people you're seeing aren't even really them anymore. Take a look at Joe Biden. Take a look at pictures of him now versus like a year or two before the election. Is it the same person? Are you sure? I don't know. I think it's crazy to think it's not, but at the same time, it might be crazy to think it is because they don't look the same. They don't even sign their name the same. Something's off. So what does that tell you? Well, again, I can only speculate because I'm not on the inside, but to me, it looks like a lot of that Q stuff is true. I'm going to just be bold and right up in your face. I resisted it for years. I think it's probably some truth. I don't know how much truth. I think it's true. Does that mean everything Q said is true? I don't know. But I think that there is something to it. There's too many patterns. Look, I'm good at pattern recognition too. As a conspiracy theorist, that's just the thing that comes, you get good at pattern recognition. Why are they doing that? And then this. Ashna says, that motherfucker is not real. Fucking reptile lady, right? Patchwork's probably right. So let me put, he says they're cloning people and using actors. Let me put something out. Did you guys know that, I think it was under George Bush, or was it Clinton? Was it Clinton or George Bush Jr.? One of them, they did a sort of, they called for a pause on all cloning technology. And if you look, you'll see that they never followed up with it. They called for a pause, which basically made it so that countries couldn't officially do it publicly. But there was no laws passed that prevented people from really doing it like in third world countries or something. Cloning is such an important technology that no nation, just like AI is too important now. It's too out of the box. It's too out of the toothpaste tube for it to not be followed and completed at this point, because the first country to get AI will conquer the world with it if we're not careful. By the way, they already have it, but I mean AI that can be open to the public. Cloning is the same way. It's too important to technology for everything that matters to them. You're talking about spare parts for human beings transplants forever with cloning. You're talking about being able to create fucking assassins and sex dolls. And dude, this shit you can do with cloning is ridiculous. Because if you can clone, you can modify. They've had that for a long time. I guarantee it. If I could just pull the entire veil down so we could all see the truth, we'd all go blind with hysteria within about a week. I'm sorry, within about seconds. If you saw the reality of what they're lying to you about, what they have and what they can do, even me who suspects it, be like, and just melt. It's just, I'm telling you, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. I know it. I just don't know how far it's gone. I just know it's way past what we think. Now, does that mean that that's what Biden is? I don't know. I don't know. And Cloney and Patchy's right. The truth is always stranger than fiction. Thank you, Patchy. Wyatt, I don't know. I don't know about the specifics of it being James Woods, but the idea that real Biden was already killed in Gitmo, I've heard that. That is a theory that's out there. Let me give you, you want to have a heart attack? In 2018, Trump expanded Gitmo by about $500 million worth and added facilities to take care of people long-term, as in elderly. And not just a handful, we're talking thousands, if not tens of thousands of people. They expanded Gitmo with $500 million worth of upgrades and expansions in 2018. Why would Trump do that? That was Trump that did that. Why would he do that? Was he planning on He was ending the war in the Middle East. He was planning on just leaving that. Why? So why would you expand Gitmo? Isn't that just for terrorists? Guys, something's going on. Dianne Feinstein disappears for a while, comes back and can't even fucking vote. Guys, something's going on. Something's going on. That's all I can say for sure. I have a feeling that we'll never know the whole truth, but I have a feeling contextually, sometime in the next 3 years, this whole pendulum's going to shift. The shoe's going to be on the other foot, and all hell's going to break loose against the other side. And I'm actually a little worried about that because the really, I'm going to hard quote, good guys. Like I'm going to scratch. I want you to know I'm using quotes for a reason. The good guys are working up the American population into a frenzy of opposition against tyranny, the New World Order, the Uniparty, the woke, to the point where some groups within that, the fundies, for example, are going to go too far. That's what I'm worried about. I'm actually worried right now, I'm more worried, listen to me, I'm more worried about the good guys getting too fired up and starting to take laws into their own hands or whatever else. And I can tell you that that's one of the things that they're trying to avoid. Somebody had said to me, Thorne, how can you believe Trump is really in control? Because if he was, he never would have let 2020 happen and blah, blah. Okay, you're still thinking two-dimensionally. They said, well, Trump would have used the military and he would have cleaned house in 2020 the minute they stole the election. Would they? Are you sure? What would have happened if Trump did that in 2020? Let's say that, let's pretend I'm going to take the side where I think I'm completely right. Why would Trump do that? Or why wouldn't he? Well, let's play it out. 2020 happens. The election happens. They rig it. They make it look like he loses. He tries to get it corrected. Nothing's happening. We get into 2021. January 6th happens. What if Trump, the day before he's supposed to hand power over to Biden, what if he said, fuck it, had the military come and start cleaning house? What would have happened? Please think. Please think, not with your biased partisan mind. Think objectively like an alien watching this planet, studying a bunch of animals on the surface of the planet that don't know what the fuck they're doing. Look at it from that objective third-person perspective. What do you think the average American, both left and right, would have done? They would have thought Trump through a military coup d'etat, and it would not have been legitimate in most people's minds. Even mine, I might have said, look, I may think you're right, and I may secretly like the idea, but this is too authoritarian right now. I don't think I could have done it. Maybe I could have, but I think most of you would agree that the average person wouldn't have accepted it. Even the ones who might have wanted it. So what do you have to do? What do you do to prevent worse? You've got to show the people. You've got to show them how bad it really is. Once you show the people how bad it really is, and I don't mean how bad the Democrats are or how bad your rhino of choice is. I mean, first you got to show them how corrupt and broken the system is, and then you got to show them who's pulling the strings. Right now, we're still at the, do you see how corrupt it is stage? Look how corrupt Biden is. Dude, no matter how you slice it, he's a puppet. He's either a puppet for the other side or he's a puppet for ours now. Either way. All right, you want to know one reason why you might want to think that Biden isn't even the legitimate president? He's the president of the corporation, but he's not who he probably says he is. Do you want to know why? He's signing executive orders that Trump put into place that countermand his own ability to rule. Why would he be doing that? There's a couple of continuity of government orders that he keeps signing that should have ended, that gave Trump, not him, Trump, continuity of government, commander-in-chief power. Why would he be doing that? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just believing conspiracy theories like flat Earth. Maybe. That's fine. If I'm wrong, like I said, I disappear. Doesn't matter. I take my ball and I go home. And when I feel like I'm safe enough, I start streaming again. That's all. The thing is, they want you to feel apathetic and demoralized. They want you to go, so let's put it this way. If you're on the right, they want you to put all your weight behind Trump. If you're on the left or in the middle somewhere on the left, they want you apathetic and demoralized so you don't support anybody. Does that sound like some of you guys right now? Look at what Ajna just said. I love Ajna, by the way. I would not, I don't mean this in any way insulting. And plus, Ajna's not even in this country. Ajna's completely demoralized and apathetic about the whole thing. Guys, they are utterly, utterly destroying the New World Order right now. They wouldn't be acting like this. Even if you believed that the Trump side was losing, look at the flimsy indictments they're using. They're so brazenly absurd. Like, there's memes going around that Trump got an indictment for a VHS tape that he didn't rewind from the 90s. And it's only partially a joke. Some of the shit that they're indicting people for is literally being a go-between, like, such and so asked me to send a text. I have no idea what was in it. I'm getting indicted though. No matter how you slice it, Ajna says, I'm as apathetic as mushrooms, but I'll serve to make your point. I love Ajna, man. I hope someday you're up here in America, we get to hang out, dude, because I have a feeling we'd get along good. I don't know what it is. I love Ajna vibes. And Alpha and Y, all you guys too. It's just sometimes Ajna chimes in, like whenever I need someone to confirm or correct, or I can always count on Ajna to be right about a lot. Like, especially, what's the name of that one Hindu practice? Ajna, would you answer the Order of the Black Dragons question for me? So let's see if Ajna knows how I would answer that question. I'll Order the Black Dragon, trust Ajna, and if Ajna's wrong with what he thinks I'm going to say, I'll correct him. How about that? Because Ajna is not far off from how I see things. I can tell you that. Attaboy, nobody's in control. There you go. Yes. But from a pragmatic perspective, that illusion of control is currently not where we think. I don't know what's going to happen for sure. All I know is, contextually speaking, the next 3 years will decide pretty much everything for... I don't know what'll happen after that. I feel like we're going to head into a complicated golden age where, and it's going to take a while for the golden age to hit, but it may be 100 years. I don't know. But what I generally predict, and when I say predict, I don't mean I know. I mean, imagine we're watching a movie and nobody knows how it ends yet, and we're all just speculating on the ending. I'm speculating that what's going to happen is next year, All hell's going to break loose. I don't know what sequence of events, but you're going to see power outage. You're going to see comm failure. You're going to see possibly nuclear strike somewhere. You're going to see riots everywhere. You're going to see probably a return to some kind of a pandemic. You're going to see, guys, the WEF just last year conducted a fucking, just like they did in 2019 before COVID, where they had a pandemic trial, like, you know, test thing to see how they would respond. And then they did it the next year. Last year, I think it was, they had a cyber attack thing. And now they're talking, if you watch the WF stuff, they're talking about how the next cyber attack is going to be like COVID. They're literally trying to say it's going to be like COVID to raise hysteria. And that the cyber attack would spread like it's going to have COVID-like signature. Are you kidding me? How stupid are these people? How out of touch? Well, I guess not very much, because a lot of people still fall for it. So I am like someone sitting next to you watching a movie. I am predicting with no ego. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Because the way I act is going to be almost the same either way, at least up to that point. I'm preparing, I'm getting food, I'm getting shit ready just in case I got to stay home for a month or something. Like everyone who's listening to me, if it's in your means to do, get yourself into a position where you can have enough so that you don't have to leave the house for a month if you don't want to. That would be ideal. More than a month if you can, but 1 month minimum. You don't have to leave the house at all if you don't want to. Especially if you're near a city or in a city. If you're not in a city, you might be all right. Like if you're in the country, you're probably fine. Probably don't even worry about it. If you're out in the deep country and you already got like a larder with food in it, yeah, you're fine. Now you notice how Ajna's saying they play. Have you noticed? So Order the Black Dragon, read Ajna's thing. Okay. So he says, Order the Black Dragon, yeah, God, Ajna, I knew it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I didn't even, I bet you Ajna's going to come back with ha 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 or some kind of like coincidence thing. Focus on that word play. It's all an act, guys. It's still a play. It's all a drama. It's all a game. All right, anyway, back to what I was saying. So, next year will be chaotic. And I have a feeling what will happen is it's going to be so crazy that you're going to end up with, in many states, if not all, they're not going to go with electronic voting. They won't use Dominion. They're going to probably go with I think they're going to go with paper. They might even still probably do ballot harvesting. Well, Order the Black Dragon, you're talking about deities. And so in the Hindu tradition, you have deities, you have like angelic beings, which are like the devas, and then you have the asuras, which are basically like fallen beings, sort of like fallen a little bit. They're devilish. But then you also have lesser spirits, and those aren't playing so much. But it's still all the play of Brahman. No matter how you slice it, it's always the play of Brahman. But deities or enlightened beings that are above deities, believe it, there are beings above deities, which are so like human beings that completely transcend reality, actually rise above them. So a lot of these beings, anything that's at a certain level, it's all just a game of play. It's all just like drama to them. And it's all just a game. It's not, we take it seriously because we're down here in the material delusion. If you saw reality as it really is, you'd know it's a game too. Why do you think I'm laughing about most of this? Because that doesn't mean that I don't get stressed out about it. It's just that on a high level, I understand it's just a game. And that's why I'm not panicking about it. That's why I seem like I don't care. I do care. If you see how much I dedicate to learning about this, I know a lot, and it does bother me, but it bothers me like I'm losing the video game, or I'm afraid I'm going to lose the video game. It's not going to happen to me though. I know whatever happens, if suddenly there's a big mushroom cloud and I blink out, I expect to be floating in some kind of other dimension or something. Like I'm working on transcending this shit right now. Like sooner or later, it's going to happen anyway. So Stu Henny asks, DH, what do you know of witchcraft used by the ninja? Any relation to modern occult practitioners? Considering ninjutsu was my first love, I know quite a bit, but there's actually a lot more I don't know. There's actually a book by Anthony Cummins, and a few others that actually take real ninja scrolls, and there's spells in them. You can learn them. If you look, they follow the exact same kinds of formula that Western magic does. When I say that, I don't mean the same symbolism. I mean the same basic concepts of correspondence. So all the same things that you might do in pardon me for picking my nose there, everything you might do in Western, witchcraft or something, the correspondences, the herbs, the times a day, all of the same considerations are in Japanese magic. The symbols are different. The timings mean different things. It's all got different, correspondences, but there is correspondences there. So, for example, they would say if you want to, I don't remember the exact spell, but if you want to like infiltrate the enemy castle, then at the hour of the cock, bring a bag made of wolf skin and cow dung or something, you know what I mean? And they would have like these, and then you do an operation like a witch would do. It was just a different set of correspondences though, usually with Buddhist Shinto overtone. So it's a different culture, but it's the exact same concept, just seen through that lens. This is why if we were looking at things from an objective perspective of why does every culture do things in a similar way, that means there must be some truth there that they are all recognizing or capitalizing on. This is one reason why magic doesn't work the way people think they do. But yeah, look up Anthony Cummins, look up his books, and there's absolutely some books about ninja magic, and he's not the only one. But he's sort of fallen from grace a little bit because he got frustrated with, I think, social media, and he was constantly having problems with the Bujinkan people. And Bujinkan is almost like the equivalent of, I dare not even say it, the science, blah, 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 tology people. Very similar kind of, the inner order of that is very cultish, and they attack people who, I've had a few run-ins with them in the past, and they get very vicious. They will dox you, and they will fuck with you if you're too vocal about that. So you got to watch out. They've kind of calmed down a little bit lately, but for a little while there, if you were putting up videos about ninjas and you weren't Bujinkan, if they found out, they would send all of their people after you and try to get your channel taken down. They were terrible. They were almost woke about it. It was bad business. So Anthony had a major problem for a little while with these people. He eventually rose above them because he was more popular, and I think he was more right. But that's just my personal take. He knows a lot about that, and he's got at least a book or two dedicated to it. And if you are into that current, I think you'll like it. I am sometimes into a little bit. I love elements of Shintoism. I love adapting, like I like Princess Mononoke, for example. I love that movie. And because there's some elements to it that are universal to all cultures. And some of the symbolic elements of it are glorious. I love the little Kodama, which are different in the real tradition. The way they present them is different, but I love the way I love it. Princess Mononoke is one of my favorite anythings. And So it's watered down, of course. It's not like the real stuff that they believe, but it's close. So I love stuff with Oni. I love stuff with Tengu. I love all that stuff. So Wayne Wallace asks, I have a question. When I worked with Lucifer and I felt his energy, does it wear out over time? The only reason I'm kind of stumped is because the way I look at things, it's not a matter of actual energy that like revs up, and it can feel that way. It looks that way. From a pragmatic perspective, you can treat it that way. But from a higher level, for me, it's more about tuning in and out of things. So if I'm tuned into the energy, then it feels like the energy is stronger and revved up. And if I'm tuned out of it, it feels like it fades out. So the way I would say it to you might be, you just might be turning away a little bit and not, and by that, I don't mean focusing your attention on it specifically. I mean, psychically, you might be tuning out of it. That's the only way I would put it. It could just be, it might be time for you to do another work with them, you know, or maybe you've reached a point where you've learned enough for now. You know, the way I prosecute things is I don't work with just one spirit forever and that's it. I'm open to them all, but I'm mainly interested in source, Brahman, whatever. I'm mainly interested in the highest source that I can access, which is usually nameless and faceless and formless. It's just intuitive channeling that just comes from the great whatever. But anyway, back to the final, what I was going to say about next year. So I don't know how it's going to play out exactly, but I see Trump back in complete power and running roughshod over the deep state after that. When this goes down, don't be surprised if they declare martial law. I mean, the good guys, with the hard quotes, good guy. I believe that very likely 90% certainty that when this is resolved, the election's over, that might be when they try to nuke somebody. I don't know, because they're going to have to do something. They can't let them just have power. So they're going to try to do something. But that's when I think the masks are going to come off. I think that probably he's going to get elected somehow. And that's when the mask comes off. And when I say mask comes off, I mean everybody's. And that's when I think you're going to start seeing, don't be surprised if the emergency alert goes off and you are told not to leave your house for a week or some shit, and they just grind the fuckers out. Don't be surprised. I'm not saying that's going to happen, okay? I'm just saying if I was writing the plot of this movie, that's what I think would happen next. I don't know though. I just know contextually. Remember, please don't forget, when I tell you my predictions are always context, not content. I don't know specifics. I just know the direction, okay? And I'm and if I'm wrong, it's not just going to break my heart. I'll just disappear, because where it's going after that, if something doesn't happen and the New World Order is not stopped in its tracks very soon, if it's allowed to get to 2030 and 2040, it won't matter. None of this will matter. Apathy will be too positive an attitude. Nihilism will be too positive an attitude for what's coming if this doesn't stop soon. If they are not stopped here and now within the next 3 years, at least in this country, because if they lose America, they lose everything. Believe me, when they lose this, they are set back 100 years. That doesn't mean they won't continue to try. But when they lose this, it's... Why do you think people like Tom Hanks are over there in Europe right now hiding? Oh, I'm over here because I wanted to live here because I'm married. Fuck you. We all know why you're there. We all know why you're there. So one way or another, it has got to start to switch over in the next 3 years. And astrologically, it looks like it will. If you look at your astrology, there's a pretty good chance, if you're looking at it the way I'm looking at it, I'm not the greatest astrologer, but I am, first of all, you have all these retrogrades from now until sometime next year for the most part. And once Saturn starts leaving Aquarius and completes that journey in March 25, I think that the entire pendulum will have shifted by then. I think it's all going to be swinging the other direction by then. And instead of everybody on Twitter going, oh my God, look at what they're doing to us now. Look at what they're doing to Trump now. Look at how, no, it's going to be like, holy shit. They really were going to depopulate. They really, oh my, I think that's the direction it's going. So, some of you guys, that's horrifying. Some of you guys, that's hopeful. If I'm wrong, please understand I'm saying it with sincerity, and I'm not saying it to be an egoistic asshole that just has to be right. I am totally aware that I might be wrong. I wouldn't sell the farm on what I'm saying or buy the farm on what I'm saying. All I will say for sure, Majna said, yep. All I'm saying is prepare for a major speed bump next year. Prepare for Hollywood movie level insanity next year. No, Wyatt, it doesn't work against them at all. Astrology is not a system of prediction. It is used for prediction, yes, but it's more like a weather report. It tells you which way the wind is going, not what will happen. And if you know which way the wind is going, you can use it however you want. It is completely possible for the exact same astrological alignment to result in two completely different outcomes, because it's not about predicting the future with any kind of precision. It's about context and the flow. Just because the wind is blowing east to west does not mean you can't go west to east. If you catch that current, you can go faster the way, or better the way you want to go. And those currents can work for everybody. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna set up for the close down tonight. Let me give you guys one more magical question, because, you know, the politics stuff is important. I want you guys to understand. I mean, how many of you guys understand why I'm talking about this so much? I hope you guys understand. And I hope you guys understand the direction I'm coming from and why I'm saying it. You know, I hope you guys understand I'm not just brainwashed with some partisan stuff. I legitimately think the things that I am saying. I'm not parroting things. I am not a believer because of some identity. It's not because I'm white. It's none of those things that the propagandists would tell you to think about people. I have been following this New World Order stuff since roughly 2009 or 10, to the point where I became really knowledgeable about it, at least as knowledgeable as you can get by watching internet videos and shit, and talking to people who might know stuff. So I'm not coming at this from a wide-eyed conspiracy, although I probably look a little bit like it now, because think of it this way. 15 years ago, everything I said, everything we're seeing right now was just a scary possibility. I didn't think it was necessarily going to happen. I was afraid it might. Now it's happening. This is why people like me are going, wake the fuck up. We've been telling you this for 15 years, longer, 20, 30 years if you know people in the right places. We've been telling you. And now it's coming to pass. And now we're telling you what's going to happen next. Listen. Don't just think we're crazy because we're not always right. Don't just think we're crazy because the media says that people like us are conspiracy theorists. No. Some of us are. Some are lunatics. Some of us think the earth is flat and that aliens are controlling the moon and well, maybe they are, but I don't know. They think weird shit. I have my maybe pile for all of that. I don't necessarily believe that, but what I do believe, I haven't been wrong yet. Just says in 15 years, the earth's gonna be flat. Especially if we don't do something. Yeah. Yeah. Like all I can say is Ajna just, yep. That's just, yeah, probably. So it's up to us to not let them flatten it. And I don't think we're going to let them flatten it. The problem is that this, even if it's not by design, this is a crucible. Even if it's not, then it's a crucible put here by the gods. If you really believe in the gods having power over this world, then you've got to recognize that the gods are running us through this for us to learn, and if not learn, be judged by it. Every age is a turning, guys. And if what I'm saying to you is true, that in the age of Pisces, they gave a choice between spiritual freedom and spiritual liberation versus spiritual slavery and spiritual dogma, which one did we as a species choose? For the most part, we chose slavery and dogma. This time, I don't think we're gonna. I think this time we're gonna make the right choice because I think enough people on the right side are woke. I think it's gonna switch. And I'm not just saying that because I'm hopeful it'll switch. I am hopeful it'll switch, but that's not why. If I really believed that things were hopeless, I wouldn't even be talking about it anymore. I'd just disappear already. Never heard of that, Stu. Hopefully I'll remember, but that sounds interesting. 12th century knight, Robert the Devil, a Norman knight who discovered the son of Satan. Worth checking out. Interesting. I like that twist. Let's try freedom one more time. Remember, you guys got to remember, you got to be pragmatic. Don't go into purity spirals. Sometimes you got to hold your nose and support the people you don't like because they're on the right side of history and they're attacking the right enemy of freedom. My initial okay with Trump feeling was he's attacking the right people. I don't like him, but he's attacking the right people. Then I came to know him better. I started to see through my own bias. Then I read him clearly, and now he's like an open book. I laugh because he says things in some of his little speeches where I go, oh, fuck, this motherfucker's hinting that he knows because he does know. He's hinting for those of us who do know what's coming next. And I wish I could point them out to you, but they're hilarious. The motherfucker tweets memes from Q, for fuck's sake. The motherfucker just tweeted the other day a video with Jan Halper describing what Trump did with the Vatican and 650 plane loads of gold, all of this shit. And he retweeted it and said, Jan Halper is amazing. She's completely right. If you watch that fucking interview and you have any doubt, you're dumb. Why would he be saying the whole video? Guys. Then he posts another one. The Great Awakening is happening. You know, a picture of him that says Trump is still the commander in chief. And he says, you got that right. Guys, what else do you need? He's just not coming out and saying it yet. So if I'm wrong, I will be shocked. Hardcore shocked. More shocked than I've been in a long time. That's why I'm probably going to have to get checked in. Okay. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be worried. That doesn't mean that it's going to be okay. It just means Thorne's still got his several months supply of food, lots of ammo, lots of preps for just in case, because the only reason I can be confident is because no matter what happens, I at least got a boomstick and I still got at least a month of survival that'll get me through, you know, a couple months of survival to get me through some shit. So if it does go Mad Max, hey, at least I won't go out in the first day unless somebody comes to try to get my shit and I'm too stupid to protect it. You know what I mean? But I'm not even kidding. If you guys are on Discord and you want those posts that I'm talking about, if you guys are on Discord, DM me on Discord. I will send you the links to the posts and things where Trump is basically coming out and like low-key admitting that all of this is true. So if you want the receipts, I will give them to you. They're not hard to find. It made all the Q people go nuts the last couple of weeks because he basically came out signaling that this is all true, but kind of like, so we'll see what happens. Read his energy. Does he watch him when he's doing his latest? Does he look scared or does he look like he's like, we got this? It sucks. They're pissing me off, but we got this. He's not demonstrating, oh my God, I'm fucked. Please help me. Or we got to fight him because I'm screwed. Or no. He's got like that I know the vibe because I get it too. When I'm about to kick your ass and I know it, I get the same vibe. When I've already got you beat and I'm just waiting for you to just admit it, he's got that same vibe. Do I believe in gematria? I don't know enough about it. I do believe there's something to it. I think Eddie would be better for the gematria question if Eddie is still here, But I don't want to blow smoke up your ass and make you guys so hopeful that you just lay down and say, it's going to be fine. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's going to suck. The next year to 3 years is going to suck. It may be the worst years of your life, guys. Please listen to me when I say this. Even though I'm saying it's going to work out, the next year to 3 years are probably going to be the worst of your life, mine included. Please listen to me about this. Please don't be demoralized by it. Don't give up. No matter what you do, don't give up. Keep pushing, keep fighting. They're losing. They are they've lost in the court of public opinion, and they're gonna lose the big game. But we got to keep pushing without fear, even though it's gonna hurt. It's going to hurt. It's gonna hurt bad, but we're gonna make it. And we're gonna make it out better than we went in. Raquel Kelly, you're former military. You can back me up. With the military right now, the way you see things, is the military happy? Or is the military more likely, if Trump gets back into power and says, okay, round them up, are they going to, you might have like 20% says no. Do you think the rest are going to be like, oh, hell yeah. My kid's in the military. I'm pretty sure if I asked him tomorrow, hey kid, if Trump gets back in tomorrow and he said we're rounding everybody up for tribunals, how would the military act? I guarantee you he'd be like, let's fucking go. I don't think there would be, I think his entire fucking ship would sail into it. I don't think that they are not happy. Afghanistan withdrawal was the final straw for a lot of them. Any of them that were not on board. I asked him, I'm like, if there's, are there people who support Biden in your whatever? He's like, yeah, but they don't stay that way for long. We usually talk about it pretty quick. Yeah. So let's see. I don't know if Raquel responded to my question yet or not, but we'll find out. I'm not saying the military is all good. I'm just saying that I'm pretty sure that when the chips are down, we can count on them. I'm pretty sure. I know a lot of people don't like that because we've been taught to be demoralized, that they're all woke and this and that. I don't see it. Some of them are. I don't see it though. And yeah, some of them, if you've said go round up Americans, would do it, but most of them wouldn't. I know they wouldn't. At least not the regular military. Maybe the Nat Guard would do it, but no, I think that when push comes to shove, the good guys will. When I say good guys, I mean it's subjective. Yeah. I don't think and the military is separate, by the way. For you guys who don't know, the military, the commander-in-chief, and the president are technically separate entities. You don't have to be the president to be the commander-in-chief. I bet you didn't know that, did you? Nobody knows that because it's a law going back to basically, I think, World War II. The president and the commander-in-chief don't even have to be the same person. Then ask yourself why Biden in the nuclear football, the chick that was holding it, her uniform was wrong. Anybody who knows uniforms, which I only barely know, but when I saw the evidence, I'm like, oh, come on, it's obvious. The chick with the nuclear football wasn't even the real fucking thing. Guys, something's going on. All right, I'm gonna end here. I'm enough with my conspiracy theories, which, knowing my luck, I'll be completely wrong. And in 2024, you guys are all, or 25, you guys are all gonna be like, Thorne said you were wrong. Ha ha ha. Oh, well, at least we're all going to the same gulag. Ha ha ha. And if you see me at the gulag, we'll do magic together. You know, we'll just have some fun together. All right, guys, that's it for me tonight. I appreciate everybody. I really want to thank you guys, especially those who super chatted. All of you guys with all your interesting conversations and questions, magic, spirituality, politics, and I don't consider it politics. How could you not be excited? Are you not entertained by what's going on? Do you not see the change of the age right in front of you? Is this not the quickening? If you're not excited, you're dead. This is exciting as fuck, and I'm sure I'll eat those words next year. But I'm excited. I can't wait to see what happens. The end is near of this stream. That's right, Joffrey. All right, guys. Thank you. Patchy, thanks for the last. Patchy with the tail gunner 2 spot says, now I know. Thanks, brother. You're welcome, Patchy. Love you, man. And all you guys, Wyatt, I am so glad you're doing well. And if anybody's got a line to Atropa, find out if she's okay. She disappeared. I hope she's all right. So she was a regular and she hasn't been here in like a month. So I don't know. If anybody's got a line to Atropa, just let her know that we're thinking about her. All right, guys, I will see you all on the flip side next week. Yeah, I think that'll do. And again, if you want any of the receipts, just Discord me and I'll see what I can do. All right, take it easy. Where's the button at? Where's the button? That's not it. There it is.